Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Deb, could you do roll call, please?
Councilman McIntosh. Here. Councilwoman Martin.
Here.
Councilman Slackton.
Here.
Mayor Nelson.
Here.
Councilman Simmons.
Here.
Councilman Gibson.
Here.
Councilman Walker.
Here. Okay, public comment. And anyone wishing to speak at this time can go ahead and come on up to the podium. Is that where you want them, at the podium or no? Mm-hmm. Yep.
Dawn Konzakowski. As you're allowing public comment only at the beginning of the meeting tonight, I would like to ask that this letter be made a part of the minutes. I hope that this letter or any of its content or meanings are not reinterpreted or dismissed tonight. I would ask that after the citizens have had the opportunity to review all comments that will be made tonight by council and staff, that you will allow all of the residents time in the next few weeks to respond in writing to those comments with any follow-up information we feel is necessary in order for you to have all the facts before moving ahead with finalizing the strategic plan. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Thanks.
Anyone else this time? Please come forward. Go ahead, Alex.
Alex Grant, 11851 East Terry Street, Bonita Springs, former member of the local planning agency, former member of the city council, and when I was a member of the city council, I was liaison between the city council and the Bonita Springs Fire and Rescue Control District. I would like to give my advice on the opportunities to the city council as if I were your older brother or older uncle, as the case may be. I very strongly feel that the city council should very seriously consider a wise decision in taking over the Bonita Springs Fire Department from an outdated district operation to a modern municipal operation, which would ensure that your goals of credibility, integrity, trustworthiness, responsibility, and fairness will be enhanced for all the 46,000 plus residents of our city, which has operated under the government light principle until our teenage years, which as a city have come and gone. I am not an opponent of collective bargaining, but on the other hand, I was taught when I first volunteered with the Bonita Springs Fire District in January of 1987 that the chain of command begins with the voters or electorate, and therefore is then trickled down to management and lastly to the employees, and not the other way around. So I hope you will be able to fix this problem, which is serious. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Hi, Ron Pure, Bonita Springs. First, I'd like to refer to one of the document that you folks handed out tonight on page 27. And it leaves me the impression, because it was written, I think, recently, in August of this year, what am I saying, this year, in 2014, you're characterizing on page 27 as one of the threats, no build, small growth, conservationist, isolationists that lack a vision for our future. Count me in. However, I don't think I lack vision, nor do many other people in the city that have come forward over the years and have pointed out serious errors that you folks have made, not only this council, but previous ones. And that would include, and for the life of me, I don't understand how, for example, Bonita Springs leadership can cut deals with these newly annexed properties, except to say that it's not in concrete yet because eventually they'll have to appear in front of the public. But we know some really heavy-duty spade work has been done in the meantime. We've brought to your attention over the years things like hanging and dangling wires, broadband, telephone wires along Old 41, particularly along, New 41 and Bonita Beach Road. Transforming that place into what had been more simply 20 years ago or 15 years ago, the gateway to the Gulf. And there weren't as many of the poles nor as many dangling and hanging wires at that time. Doesn't make the city look as though it's got a high enough standard, particularly when you consider the number of folks that have moved into private communities as well as the center city. You've got billboards. The mayor says they can't be dealt with, and the mayor has accepted over the years the fact that Lee County has approved them, so we've got to go along with that. And when you've got 30 of them popping up as they have over the years, it makes the city again look as though the standard, the bar has not been raised. It's time to do that. It's long overdue. Now, with this conservation isolationist business that you're referring to here, it's odd. I don't see anything, any reference in this to land sharks. I just see something like there's unfettered development. But there's no characterization here except for that. The public at large is being demeaned somewhat, but no one else that comes to town that gets an endless approval, it seems, from this city. You want to build it? Sure, go ahead, do it. We'll accommodate you. We're a friendly city. And we are, but a little bit overly friendly when it comes to approving many of the projects that have, I'd like to say, gone down, but in fact they've gone up. You know, just recently in Pelican Landing, community that you folks were trying to extract as much property as you could from to annex it to the city, and I don't blame you for wanting to do that. However, just recently announced by Pelican Landing, in line with what you guys have annexed and in line with what the newspapers so far have explained maybe the future of some of those properties, Weeks Fish Camp, Raptor Bay, high-rise development.
You need to wrap up, okay?
I'm going to. There's a finite amount of land that is sand, the beach. And our own community just announced that we've had such a whoppingly successful season so far that we may have to alter the way we're delivering people from the marina to the beach, and we may have to put a limit on that number. So with all of this talk about tourism in that area, that puts even greater pressure on Lover's Key and certainly the Pelican Landing Beach and the Hyde Beach.
Thank you for your comments.
There's more, but thanks for listening.
Thank you for your comments.
Okay.
Next speaker, please.
Fred Forbes, 28200 Alfred Moore Court, Bonita Springs. Let's talk about opportunities. Since I've been in Bonita Springs, one thing I've heard repeatedly, we're business friendly and we're partners with business, et cetera, et cetera. I would like you guys to recognize that the senior partner in this partnership should be the residents, the people that made Bonita Springs what it is, the people that have invested and continue to invest in the community, and where most of your ad valorem comes from. So that's number one. Number two, as far as, and I consider that an opportunity, I think that a threat would be that if we got a super box store before we ever get the architectural standards up and finished and rolled and passed. We've been talking about that for several years. I think that in addition to that, I dearly hope that nothing happens to the landscaping project that you all voted in. That will make the city beautiful. It will make it more pleasant for the people that are here. It will make it a place that other people want to come to live, and businesses of the top caliber will want to move into. I think that we've had a number of distractions. I think the flyover has been one and will continue to be one, and that's a threat. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else this time? Please come forward.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Pat McCourt, citizen, taxpayer of Bonita. I'd like to say that we live in a democracy, but we all know we really live in a republic. In a republic, we elect folks like you to come together and make decisions for us, decisions like you're going to make tonight. I'm reminded of high school economics, when all of us learned the theory of supply and demand. That's the basis of our free enterprise system. If there's a great deal of demand for something and a fairly limited supply of it, then generally the price is going to go up. If the opposite occurs, generally the price is going to come down, or the price is going to be somewhat compromised. Now, I saw a lot on your agenda today about growth and development, and I want to remind you of the 40,000 or so individual in Bonita that you all represent. And I want you to ask yourself, who wants growth and development? It only makes common sense if you were a property owner, taxpayer in Bonita like I am, that I see a tremendous amount of interest in people coming down to live here. Large supply, okay? I see a fairly limited, at least somewhat limited, supply of housing and places to build houses, okay? Now, the more we let the developers increase that number of houses, and the more we let developers increase those home sites, the less my property value, or my property value certainly is compromised. So I want you to keep uppermost in your mind who you represent. Those 40,000 people out there that pay taxes and elect you, or those few developers who generally come to pave over paradise and then move on to the next juicy prospect. And I'm reminded of what's happened, or we all see it happen on the south end of Fort Myers Beach just in the last few years. We've seen a tremendous amount of overdevelopment. And now we're suffering the consequences of it. Those developers are long gone. They're not here to help us solve the problems. They're not here to help with the traffic that's coming down Hickory Boulevard and Bonita Beach Road because they can't get off the north end of Fort Myers Beach. We have to solve those problems, and those developers aren't here to do it for us. So I want you to remember those folks out there that you serve, and I want to leave you with a very simple story. One of the first things that I read when I came to this town in the Bonita Banner was a letter from a lady who was complaining about growth and development. Now, I think we had about 15,000 people at that point, but the point is still very valid. She had a fairly nice article and pinpointed, in my opinion, in her summary statement in that article, the very feeling of the majority of the people that you represent. She said, "Dear City Council, I do not want wider roads. I want less cars on the road."
Thank you very much. Anyone else this time? Please come forward.
Alberto Bayer, Community Ministries. I don't see a microphone, so I'll speak loud because I couldn't hear.
There's a microphone right here,
Fellow
sir.
that just spoke, who's my neighbor, and I appreciate your words, by the way. Echo them, as well as those of Fred Forbes. Although I think that we many times hit deaf ears. And this is the reason why I'd like to recommend the following. First, I'd like to start with an important notice. Time and time again, it has been documented in the city videos archives that typically the mayors have granted the extra minute when so requested by a civilian during public comment. Nevertheless, as the video archives amply document, in line with his typical posture relative to my community ministries, Mayor Nelson played an obstructive role in my regard the last time I came to city meeting, a meeting ago, when I attempted to bring to City Council's attention the subject matter. Namely, I had enough time to favor Council with the rationale relative to my recommendation. However, for a compulsive stimulus to satisfy his capricious need to say hi to his mom on BTV, the mayor refused to allow me the extra 30 seconds that I requested so that I could articulate the recommendation itself, i.e., for the creation of a Citizens Ethics and Professionalism Monitoring Committee. The recommendation to City Council, creation of the Citizens Ethics and Professionalism Monitoring Committee. Due to the increasingly prolific damages that the constituencies that I champion have suffered since the incorporation of our city, when I hear City of Bonita Springs, what comes to mind is corruption. The mentality, i.e., the city's character, is what is deficient. Following are examples of non-compliant behavior that merit conscientious scrutiny by a quality control task force such as the hereby proposed. 1A. In the last quarter of 2013, I persevered with the help of some tenacious supportive colleagues in persuading Council to accommodate a Citizens Water Strategy Committee to address the most challenging issue that Bonita Springs has had to tackle. B. As the supporting documentation reflects, in December 2013, I emailed 4 concrete requests for specific public information. Namely, please send me a reply to my communique to all addressees herein, which were the council, management, and the newspapers, with orientation as to what is the available protocol for my petition, i.e., for my appointment as an additional DRGR Citizens Water Strategy Task Force member, or at the very least as an alternate member, to be entertained by the city government at the earliest convenience, e.g., preferably at the next available city council meeting. According to the law, the city management is obligated to readily respond with an accurate and befitting answer. Nevertheless, as below documented, I received instead 6 deviously deceptive and harassing emails from 2 bullies, 3 from city manager Carl Schwinn and 3 from councilwoman Martha Simons. Furthermore, what remains pending to date is the legally compliant, i.e., accurate and befitting answer, which is basically Rule 1177, addressing the City Council. When a presentation is requested by a person or group other than the government agencies or from professional consultants working on city projects or member City Council, one member of the City Council or the City Manager must act as sponsor to the presenter, notifying the City Manager or City Clerk, blah, blah, blah. C. The citizens
Mr.
Water
Bayer,
Strategy
Mr.
Task
Bayer,
Force
your
is-
4 minutes are up, and I'm going to give you 30 more seconds. How about that? And you may begin.
Given the delicate and time-sensitive nature of this urgent matter, your support would be greatly appreciated in accommodating my presentation hereof to avoid additional discrimination under the short notice and without sponsorship in like fashion to your accommodation of Mr. Eric Livingston's on November 6 of 2013, i.e. a compliance violation that would most likely not have been entertained by council, management, or legal counsel if the hereby proposed Quality Control Committee would indeed exist.
Thank you,
Thanks
Mr.
for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Bayer.
You're very welcome, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone else this time? Please come forward. Seeing none, the public comment is over. And we are to business. Carl, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Lead on.
Mayor and council members, good evening. Thank you for being here. I wanted to say that this is your meeting, as all council meetings are, and it's a workshop, so it's meant to be informal. So what we're hoping to do at a relatively high level is to talk about the most important priorities that you see for the city in the coming maybe 24 to 36 months. What I'd like to do is first off thank Jane, members of our staff, Jane, who's going to be working a little bit here, Debbie for all her help and setup, Alana as well, all of our department heads who are all here tonight to answer any questions that you might have. Audrey, of course, and I know I've probably missed somebody, Meg, who's going to be Vanna tonight, so she'll be doing some scribing up here tonight. And I've been calling her Vanna. I haven't gotten a complaint yet, so anyway, yet. But so what we're going to do tonight, and I want to just briefly run through the agenda so you know what to expect, is that first off, we're going to do a brief review of the status of your priorities established in 2011. You received a more detailed report of this in your packets, and I believe it's also in the packets that the residents have as well. And we'll go through that in a pretty quick manner. Then we're going to talk a little bit about the mission, vision, and values of the city to determine whether or not you feel they're still aligned with where we are and where we need to be going, and to ask you to make any suggested changes that you might have. We're going to try to take notes on this. We were going to try to make changes on the screen tonight, but that might be technically too difficult and cumbersome. So we are going to take notes, and then we would bring these documents back for your review. And by the way, that will be a public meeting, and all the residents will have an opportunity to have more say about where the council went on this particular workshop. And then we're going to talk about the listing of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threat, or the SWOT analysis from 2011, and then ask if there are any of those items that need to be taken out, modified, or added to. And again, we've done a lot of the work up front back in 2011, so hopefully it won't take as long as it did back then. And then we'd like to talk a little bit about where you think the priorities need to be. And that's when we're going to switch over to a manual system here, and Meg will be taking notes of your priorities as you list them. And then later on, you'll get an opportunity to vote on those using the famous dot system. You'll have 10 dots, and each of you will have a different color, because last time they were all the same color, and there were people who couldn't remember if they voted for this one or that one over there. So we'll get that resolved. And so hopefully by the end of the evening, we will have a list of your priorities. Staff will go back, and we will categorize those and lump them together as best we can, and we will bring them back to you in a future council meeting for final review, and then after any modification, any adjustments that you have. So that's kind of where we're headed. Any questions about that, council? Okay. What I'd like to do then is, Jane, if you would take us to our review of the 2011 priorities and our accomplishments. This is an abbreviated version. Can you see here, Bill?
Yes.
Okay. This is an abbreviated version of what you have in your packets. And this is basically conduct a workshop with regards to downtown redevelopment. 2 workshops were actually held back in 12. And we have been working forward from there, given your directions that you had for us then. Update the downtown plan. It took a while, but we do have a revenue sharing agreement now with Lee County, which will allow us to fund some of the improvements that are needed downtown. And that includes the centralized drainage, parking improvements, underground utilities, and city incentives. Also, create a promotional plan for vision in the area. Now that's ongoing, and basically we put that on hold pending whether or not we were going to get funding from the county to help with some of the improvements that we needed. Let's move on. Next page. This is objective number 2, economic development opportunities throughout the city. re-examine our city processes, which has been ongoing from day one. And we continue to do that. That is a continual improvement process. And yes, we want to be business friendly here. That's the direction we have from the City Council. However, I would be interested in knowing if there are things we need to toughen up on and what the council would support in terms of being tougher with specific issues. But we've established one-stop shop permitting. So instead of having to go to BSU and to the fire district separately and the city, they all can come through one door now, community development. And the other agencies are, hello, what happened there?
Kind of gonna hurt.
The other agencies, take me back to
Go
number
back to
2. The other agencies are really treated like departments. Keep going. Go forward again. Some more. Okay, go down.
Sorry, I'm not used to this laptop.
You need to go to the next page. This cursor up there. Okay, we're getting there. No, we're not. What happened to, I don't know what happened to, oh well. All right, now I'm going to have to shift over to my, okay, we need to keep going. We need to go up farther. There, stop. Good. All right. We also created the position of business advocate, which has been well received by the development community. Basically, the business advocate is there. We pay her salary, but she works for the client. And that is to help the business folks who want to come to Bonita Springs to get through the process as easily as they can. And again, this has been well received. And we've also added performance measures, not just to the CH2M Hill contract, which is very important because they're the ones handling the community development side of economic development, but we've also added performance measures actually to all of our departments as well. Then the next one was present a toolbox of incentives. We did that. They were adopted in 12, and we had some additional administrative code to actually formalize those in February of 13. Those are going very well. We are pushing those people who want those incentives to really have something that is going to be meaningful to the city in terms of looks when they get done. However, those dollars are relatively limited, so it also limits what we want to do. But we've had several people apply. We've had a couple of people actually paid out, but that's about it on this particular one. And then, of course, a lot of changes to the comprehensive plan, or not to the comprehensive plan, but the land development code as they relate to economic development. And you can see a whole list there of the things that we've done with regards to Chapter 3, Chapter 4. There's a whole list, including the homeless shelter operational use and some of the other things that we've changed, including architectural standards, especially on Old 41. And we are currently working on higher architectural standards for US 41 and Bonita Beach Road. Even though there's an overlay already on Bonita Beach Road, we think that can be improved a little bit. Okay, so move up a little bit more. Or you need to go down. Okay, objective 3 is extend and connect Shangri-La Road. Obviously, construction is underway. It's mostly drainage right now, but it's heavy construction. Audrey's group did yeoman's work in terms of property acquisition for this. That took quite a while, but that's all been completed. And we are now under construction, and we expect completion in September of this year for the Shangri-La connection to Imperial. Widen West Terry Street. This was actually put on hold by the council given the new traffic patterns, we believe, as a result of some of the Imperial construction that was there. We have done some intersection improvements at Terry and Old 41 to assist with that. Bonita Beach Road Phase 2 improvements. This was county project, but that's been completed. Bonita Beach Road Phase 3 is on track, but basically we're continuing to communicate with the county on that. And at this point, it's not even in the 5-year cycle plan. Logan Boulevard, we'll talk a little bit about that perhaps a little bit more. It's on the list to kind of chat about a little bit more, but we've updated the council as requested in May of 2012. And at this point, we've had communications with the developer down in Collier County, and we're working to ensure that our interests are certainly considered in any of those improvements. Old South 41, again, that's going to be something we'll talk about a little bit later, but basically we have shifted away from a widening project there and have been working towards more of a walking path there so that we can help with pedestrians that are just sometimes downright unsafe on that road as they walk along that particular road. And we are also, again, working with FDOT in Collier County because there will be obviously a connection at the county line, but we continue to work on that. Unpaved roads, Phase 1 is complete successfully. Phase 2 is underway, but not under construction. We are in the process of getting back the license agreements and the payments from the residents who may wish to be involved in that. Okay. Okay, enhanced ecotourism, yes? No, increased sidewalks and drainage improvements. We did Michigan sidewalk completed. Go back down there a little bit more. Okay, right there, stop. Feltz Avenue drainage project was completed, and the West Terry sidewalk was completed as well. We are looking to solicit design engineers to develop construction plans for key water quality projects identified in the Stormwater Master Plan. And again, that goes to water quality. Then we talked about establishing protocols for privately maintained ponds. We completed a proposed protocol for that. Council did adopt that protocol earlier on. Research bike paths under FPL lines. The review's been completed, but we suspect that alternative plans to add more connectivity to the city should be looked at before we just go ahead with that. And again, we seek the council's guidance on that, but we've got reasons why that's perhaps a plan that we should look at more carefully. And then the river trail to connect to Crew, trail-headed Crew. Bonita Trail Phase 1, complete. Talks are underway with FDOT, not successfully, as you know, on the crossing 75. However, we still have opportunities perhaps to move to the east into Crew. And so we'll continue to work on that should the council choose that as one of our continuing priorities. Okay, so we're going to move on from there. Okay, objective 4. Okay, additional measures, enact and implement additional measures to maintain and enhance our quality of life, improve water quality. Now, this is ongoing. It's being addressed by various ongoing drainage projects throughout the city. Conceptual water management permit is something we're looking at for the Old 41 area that will allow kind of a general upfront approval by the South Florida Water Management District for those who want to develop on Old 41, assuming, of course, that they meet all the criteria to protect the water. And then, of course, the Water Task Force has been created in relation to the DRGR area. And because their work actually flows into the rest of the city, they will have an interest in what we do with water quality even to the west of them. Enhance the aesthetics of the city. We've adopted a color palette on 041, and architectural standards. And we're, again, as I said, we're looking at US 41 and Bonita Beach Road being reviewed for architectural standards. Also in terms of landscaping, obviously the City Council put $3 million in the budget for this fiscal year for us to plan and to plant a significant amount more of landscaping in various areas of the city. We will not be able to put all that $3 million in the ground at once. We'll have to phase that project, but right now the design on the first parts of that are at about 30%, and you will be seeing an additional request for funds from the designer coming up at a future meeting. Review exotic vegetation from publicly owned land. Oak Creek Preserve was cleared of exotics. Right-of-ways are continually monitored for that and removed. And then, of course, we continue to work all the parks, but there's obviously more to do because we have quite a few parks. Review methods to protect residential character of Little Hickory Island. We actually placed this on hold. Not that it's not important, but we want to make sure that whatever gets done there is right. We want to ensure that that's still a priority. And again, we had some other issues that unfortunately took our planners off in different directions. Develop sustainability policy. That workshop was held. And of course, first off, you already adopted a sustainability policy prior to me even being city manager, as was spearheaded by Dr. McIntosh. But we held a workshop on April 22nd, 2013. We are going to be applying to pursue the Florida Green Building Award, or actually points and designation as being platinum, gold, silver. And we are working, Jen is actually working with all of our department heads to ensure that that she understands exactly what we're doing now, because we get points for those. And some things may not always, you may not even think that they're a green situation, but they are. And so we're going to be working on that together as a team. Improve public buildings, roadways, DOs. Again, we conducted the Old 41 landscape compliance program using the intern and looked at commercial landscaping compliance with those who already had landscaping plans approved by the city. There were those that did not have plans because they were grandfathered and they were actually in the facility and operating prior to that ordinance. And so they're actually grandfathered, and it might well take, should council so desire, perhaps some incentives for them to be brought up to speed unless we've got enough right-of-way to do some of our own work there. Also, we generated a natural area exotic plant removal and maintenance plan, and inspected and identified all exotics on the park properties as a part of our removal program. Then enhance recreational activities and facilities. We added more classes at the rec center and additional programs at the municipal pool. We contracted the youth swim team and 2 futsal leagues. Also, we have on and off had partnerships with the YMCA, and those have been, we've had various amounts of success with that. Then we update the master park plan. Nicole Perino, the Director of Parks and Recreation, saved us about $30,000 by doing that master plan in-house. Probably produced certainly a better product than we get from the private sector, and probably more detailed. Council did adopt that plan in 2012. Review policy for more public access. County parks become city parks. This probably was more about the beaches and the beach access and who should own that, and that's something we can talk about a little bit later. Expand the library. I think you're all up to speed on that. The county has contracted with a consultant to do the $50,000 study for programming for a new library facility here in Bonita Springs. We are hoping, we are the first library in line, which means in less than 5 years, 5 years or so. And we will be continuing to work with the county on that project and on that study as well. And we'll talk more about that tonight as well. And then a protocol for addressing city involvement with privately maintained ponds. And again, this protocol was also adopted by council, addressed and adopted by council in January of 2013. And then implement measures to improve our internal operations is objective number 5. We completed an ad code outlining the first version of the communication plan. It was adopted May 16th of, I believe, 2012. We've also held media days for the press, and we had an open house for the public on Saturday, February 11th. Our communications have a lot to do with social media. We're very involved there. We continually strive to keep the website up to date. That is an ongoing challenge because of limited manpower, but we are continuing to work on that because we believe in this day and age the web is where people go first when they want to know about basically anything. Increased connectivity. Again, Facebook, Twitter, we're on that. And we are looking in the future for people to be able to have an app where they could report a problem in the city directly to the city, and we would get that over their smartphones. And so we're going to be looking into that system to see if we can increase the connectivity more. Operational efficiencies. The big part here was creating performance measures for each of the departments. Now, we've got to be careful because we don't want to put the departments in the position of spending so much time that they're recording measures that they're not getting any work done. So we have taken it that each department has about 3 of their major operational issues in the performance measures. You have seen them. I believe they were in the budget document. And so people have an idea of how we're doing. Now, we also monitor these performance measures on a quarterly basis, and then we go back to the departments if we see something that kind of causes us concern, and make sure that the department is not only just producing the measure, but they're actually learning from it and doing something about it if there's improvements to be made. And then determine and pursue collectible code liens. Actually, there was a metric here for a 30% reduction in cases over 5 years old. We hit 27.97%, which is close but not quite there. However, as of January of 13, we had reduced it by 47.5%. And in March 24th of this year, we had reduced that by 64%. And we continue to improve those numbers. And then we had something we called unclassified, and these were things that were listed. We didn't want to lose them, but basically they didn't have a lot of general council support back in 2011. So basically, given everything else we were doing, we have taken no action on these particular 3. Okay. Does anybody have any questions with that? And again, all of your documents show a much more detailed version of this. No questions? Okay. So now what we'd like to do is go on to a brief review of the mission, vision, and values of the city. These have been in place for probably since close to incorporation. The council did make a few word changes back in 2011. And I just want to run over it with you to make sure there isn't any additional changes that you would like to make. When you take a look at the vision, a lot of the vision has to do with environmental. It has to do with the things we've heard tonight, aesthetics, connectivity, and in a place where our environment is the major thing. and it lists beaches and parks and rivers and quaint. It says a quaint, vibrant downtown, but we obviously want the whole city to kind of be like that. And actually, in your next page beyond what you're looking at in your packet is the full version of that. I don't know if there's anything in particular that the council would be concerned about on the vision.
May I?
Stephen.
My major concern is when you look at the large version of the vision at the bottom, where it says welcoming features should clearly announce to travelers the location of city limits. 41 and Bonita Beach Road should be beautiful commercial parkways to be enjoyed by the residents as well as those traveling through the city. And what I see is that here we have one of the most pristine beaches in the world, in my opinion, and yet we've left out Hickory Boulevard, that entrance from Barefoot Beach on, in terms of landscaping. We have two organizations in the area, one of them, and of course that's just a verbal right now, but willing to contribute $9,000 to $10,000 to help the city with beautifying that area. And so I just think that in terms of a vision, we haven't lived up to it.
Okay. Do you want to, but you're not talking about changing the vision?
I'm not, no.
Okay,
No.
you're just talking about applying it to
Applying
Hickory
it.
Boulevard.
Hickory Boulevard,
Okay,
yeah.
all right. So, okay, anything else?
I think to be consistent with the vision, we ought to have something that refers to sustainability, environmental sustainability in the mission statement that we to my knowledge, don't have. It's that's the first thing people look at, and that certainly reflects the quality of our life.
Okay. So move the mission up a little bit, Jane, so we can see this. That is that's an interesting comment, because when you take a look at the mission, the mission actually talks about how we're going to operate with our staff. It's more like an internal operations mission. And so perhaps we need to spend some time with council's direction, of course, and how we're going to treat people, even though some people don't think we do that, but how we treat people, how we deal with our business, and if we probably need to beef this up and be more global about this, because this is really kind of constrained to operational issues. And if council is willing for us to do that, we can take a run at it and then bring it back to you.
I'd like for you to do that, please.
Okay, is everybody comfortable with that? Okay, so we're gonna redo the mission and make it more global, perhaps. Okay. Okay. All right, we will do that.
We should just,
And sustainability.
yeah, just put a dot on there for sustainability.
Yep. Okay. All right. So if we're going to do that, we'll bring that back to council and let you all take a look at it. All right. All right. Let's take a look at values, and these govern the operation of the city and the way we conduct ourselves in our relationships with people and other organizations. And I think this is a pretty good list, unless council has some additions to it or changes. Now again, take a look at this, okay? The current values that are listed here are from the mission statement, which we've just agreed needs to be changed.
Right.
So I think the values will probably expand and become more global as well as we change the mission. So,
Well, you say more global, it says its conduct relationships with the society at large, customers, suppliers, employees, local government, community stakeholders. Did you miss somebody that I don't know about?
no, this is more, again, this is coming out of, this is how we operate. But our values may be pristine environmental areas or usable parks, or that's the kind of thing I'm talking about when we need to open it up a little bit more, because this is all tied to our actual operations, how we treat people, how we do business.
Okay.
Okay? So we'll take a run at it. So if it's okay, if council's all right, we'll add some values related to the new mission. Yes?
Okay.
Okay.
Check the spelling of positiveness, too.
How could you tell that? Just because there's a red line under it? Well, it's just that we're so positive we put a red line under it to emphasize it.
Okay. It might be because it's not a real word.
Regardless. Right?
It's a good one.
The best non-word there is.
Okay, great. We'll do that. Okay. Anything else? Yes, I'm sorry.
I'd like to add one more to the values.
Yeah.
Empathy.
Empathy? Okay. Everybody okay with that? Empathy?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay. Okay. And then we'll be adding some more words too as we go along. All right? Anything else? And we'll check the spelling. Okay. All right. Anything else on values? No? Okay. Okay, now we're going to try the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Now, what you've got are a couple of documents in your packet, okay? So the first document is going to be the minutes from 2011, and we're going to be working from that list, okay? Because it's like, all right, from that list, is there anything we need to add? Or is there anything we need to subtract or modify? Because from your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats leads you to your priorities. How do we do more of what we're doing well? All right? How do we correct our weaknesses? And by the way, strengths and weaknesses, these are internal. These are operational to the organization, okay, to the city itself. All right? When you're looking at opportunities and threats, how do we take advantage of those opportunities? All right? How do we try to address and avoid the threats? All right? And those are external. Okay? So when we take a look at strengths from 2011, which is on the left side, are these pretty, oh, I didn't finish. So that's 2011. What you also have farther back in your packet, and actually Peter's on one of the pages, and you heard some reference to it from public input tonight, is when you've got these pages that look like this. Okay, you got multiple pages that look like this. Well, these are the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats submitted by citizens. Okay, these are not city generated. These are submitted by citizens. And so...
so you didn't make those up
no.
in 2014?
No.
Okay.
Now, in 2014, what we did was we mailed out the SWOT analysis questionnaire to all of the contacts we had in the gated communities. We sent it out to all of our employees. We sent it out to our council members. We sent it out to all of our board and committee members. We sent it out to individuals in the community who we believe are active in the community and may have an opinion. So we tried to be as inclusive as we could. We also got some press on that as well. All right. Unfortunately, the return rate was not high. So again, when you take a look at this list, when you take a look at the list from 2011, when you take a look at the questionnaire that we put in here about core services, and all of that is just meant for you to be thinking about Bonita Springs and globally thinking, higher level, what we need to do better. We're not here tonight to talk about how, because that's something we can handle in workshops. Let staff work on it some and bring them back to you. But we certainly need to know the public policy decision of what's most important for your limited staff to be working on in the coming 24 to 36 months. We do know that there will be things that come along that are not on the priority list. And the big examples over this last period of time was the social service homeless shelter issue, the annexations, and the DRGR. Those are the big three that we understand things happen, times change, and things are triggered where we need to be handling those along with some of the other priorities that are going on. So I guess my question is there anything on the strengths that you would like to add beyond what is here, what is listed right here?
Well, I think there's some things right out front you could combine. I mean, I noticed this last time, I don't know if anybody wants to do this or not, but when it comes to city staff, it says capable staff, our fiscal help, which is our staff we're talking about, right? Saying that that's good, right? And then we've got town employees. Could we combine those and we could just make it a little simpler?
We could do that.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
Again, this is just how it was listed in 11.
Yeah,
That's all.
That's good. But,
So
I mean,
would you want us to combine these things?
Yeah.
We can do that.
Teamwork and all that.
just put it under
That's all
awesomeness.
part of it.
Awesomeness?
Okay.
So, and I trust that you would want us to try to do those combinations in all 4 categories. Is that correct? Yes? Okay. Okay.
I can think of what I consider to be another strength that I've noticed that the city's had, particularly this year, is flexibility.
Okay.
It seems like when something comes up, we're able to turn on a dime, and that probably has to do with the design of your, the staff and everything else there. But I think it's a trait the city has.
Okay. Flexibility. Everybody okay with adding that? Stick that in there. What else? Anything else for strengths? Again, internal to the organization and to the city itself, the city organization. Anything else?
I mean, probably says it, no, pride,
Pride?
Yeah.
Okay. What else? Anything else?
I'm assuming that's government light and not right.
Actually, it was government right on that day. But we normally talk about government light. Yes, sir. Would you like to put government light?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to change it from right or leave right there?
Now, what is government right?
Same thing.
We do government right.
Right/light.
Yeah, but right,
Okay,
doing
we'll
it
do
right
that.
can mean anything.
Okay,
on
all
a
right.
given day.
That's debatable also,
What's that?
right?
Okay. Well, so should I take government right out and just put government light?
Yeah, that's why I prefer that.
Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Everybody okay with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what else? Anything else for strengths? Okay, weaknesses, same exercise. Again, internal to the organization, dealing with the organization.
Well, when we see, absence of strategy or detailed shared vision, I mean, obviously well open to interpretation, but I look at that and say we need to turn that into a strength. I mean, master the obvious maybe with that one, but I think, obviously there's some, I mentioned it last year, Carl, and I don't have the answer necessarily, but I want to bring it for discussion with this, with this enhanced architectural standards for incoming. Can you kind of maybe shed 10 seconds on that or jot it down for further discussion?
Yep, absolutely.
I'm certainly not a city master planner, but when you think of what we have here, this jewel of a town on the Gulf, you hear things, we all hear things, and I have heard, well, if we can't get it through in Naples and we can't get it through in Estero, well, we'll go to Bonita because Bonita's, not as tough to get what you want.
Okay.
Whether that's true or not, I just want to frame it that way.
Okay.
We are one of the last jewels here, and I want to make sure it stays that way
Okay.
and looks that way. and feels that way.
All right. I've added it to the list.
Great.
Okay. Behind the screen.
Behind the
Where
screen,
secret
yeah.
stuff is.
What,
Okay.
what did we just add to the list? I'm confused. Well,
We're just adding something to the list to talk about later.
Oh,
Okay, in terms of shared vision and strategies for being
Architectural
the best we
standards.
can be, that kind of
Oh.
thing. Right. Okay. So, but you're not suggesting that that come off. You're actually
No, no.
responding to it.
Responding to it, I want to get it to be one of our strengths,
Gotcha. Okay.
ultimately.
Gotcha.
Well, and I know when we put that up there, we were having this strategic workshop in order so we would have a strategy and a shared vision. Do we not have a better one now? So I don't know how much, I mean, some people would argue we still don't. But I don't know, we put on there that we have shared goals and all this other stuff, but we don't have a detailed shared vision. I don't know. I guess it depends on your frame of mind or what's going on in your head. Some of us
Oh,
think,
yeah, no, absolutely.
I think we have a shared vision,
I
and it's
agree.
like, we don't?
Right,
Okay, well, and
And
we
some
can,
people are like, well, you don't have my shared vision.
right. No, I know, that's exactly. I don't know if I
I'm like, well,
spit it out quite that way, but I agree with
But we
you.
might have one, I don't know. I don't know, but we can leave it up there. I mean,
well, and
I think it's
again,
more perceptual than anything, maybe.
Yeah. Well, and again, council can give us more direction on that as we talk about that a little bit later. Steve?
Yeah, is grant writing coordination a weakness? I mean, do we have a need for grant writing, Rick?
Well, I don't know. I will tell you that right now, when we go out for grants, we do not have a grant coordinator. It's my understanding the city used to have a grant
one, right.
coordinator.
Yes.
We do not have that now. So each individual department writes their own grants when they're aware of money available.
But what I'm saying is it really a weakness?
Well, if...
If you're able to do it.
If there's a belief that we're losing money opportunities because we don't have a grant coordinator, then it is a weakness.
I think
However,
there was a time when there was a lot more grant money
Yeah,
available.
there's not a lot.
And there isn't a lot out there now
Right.
to do.
and actually, I will tell you that there are times when we internally make the decision not to apply for the grant because the administration is not worth it. I mean, you're going to spend god-awful amount of time on paperwork, and the benefits are marginal. And sometimes we have to make those decisions. But we go after the money that we're aware of. Okay, so do you want to take that off? Are you concerned about that?
I don't see the need for that to be on there as a weakness. But
Council, what do you
that's
think?
Council's decision.
Leave it on, take it off? Any thoughts?
I don't think it's comes to the level of being like a weakness that
Yeah.
something I mean, I don't know.
Right.
Not
Do you want us
something
to
that-
strike it?
Well, it was
I
important.
mean,
to
it's
somebody,
not like
but
this general category where, you have, if we're,
Like we're
it
hurting.
should be under fiscally we're hurting and we need to do something about it.
Correct, no.
Like with public relations, if our public relations was really poor, well, that would be a general category where we would have to do certain things. And hiring a public relations person would be one of them. Grant writing coordination is pretty specific, so
Mhm.
I don't think it's hurting us, but I don't know.
I just shouldn't see it off, but that's a weakness, but.
Can I take it off, council? Is that all right with everybody?
Fine.
Everybody okay?
It doesn't mean we're not gonna do it, right?
Right, right.
That's right.
The next one right on the list, the
No more grant
on-the-road
writing.
meetings by city council, I don't understand, because anytime anyone would invite any one of us to attend something, that we do it. So, or not, so I don't know why that becomes such a
Yeah.
weakness for us.
It's kind of hard to put into context why that was put up there, so
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't really.
yeah.
I think it was like,
I think-
well, we all can't get in the bus and go visit something together.
right, yeah.
Blah, blah, blah,
Sunshine
Well,
stuff or
I mean,
whatever, so I don't know.
if
what
I
that is.
remember correctly, discussion on this might have well have been planned on the road meetings by city council. For example, district meetings in your districts. Pick a church, pick a place where you can meet and you invite your constituents there. Or if you go throughout the community in a series of meetings and talk about a big city issue, annexation, DRGR, social services. I think it really means that kind of thing. And we really, I don't believe we've done a lot of that. I think absolutely the council and staff are available anytime somebody invites us to come talk. But we have not been initiating those meetings to find out what folks think or to make sure that they're fully informed in that kind of setting.
I also think before we got social media moving like it is today.
Right.
With Facebook and all the other social media, we are communicating better. We have more opportunities.
Well, it's not like city council in general has to travel around the state, you know, to be sure that we see all our constituents. I don't think that we're that far from, you know, our constituents aren't that far from a meeting any time particular. So I don't know. Not that we shouldn't, as individual council people, have community workshops and that type of thing. So I don't know.
I think that's what that meant. I don't.
Okay.
You want to leave it on, take it off? Up to you.
Take it off.
Take it off.
Take it off? Take it off?
I think we can take off lack of funding too, because that goes right underneath budgetary limitations. I mean, that's the same thing, just being said over again. All the way at the bottom. unless
Take off
it's-
lack of funding?
Right.
Okay. Take off lack of funding? Everybody okay with that?
Yeah, I think that would be more of a threat anyway. I mean, that's always,
And that's,
if the bottom falls out, and like, I mean, that would be a
yeah,
threat.
actually, some of these things can cross a couple of these categories.
Not yet. It's drifting.
Jane, bring it back.
I'm sorry.
Sorry,
I
she was
guess I'm
going
very-
down the list there.
I was just trying to add.
Oh, yeah,
Because
there's a few more.
ones.
Oh,
Yep.
Here we go.
Okay, never mind.
And over there were beaches, infrastructure. I mean, I guess my thought is on beaches. What we have is beautiful. What can we do to make them more beautiful?
Okay.
And I guess that's obviously, you know, city, county.
Yep.
Chicken, egg, you know, whatever.
Yep.
Well, not chicken, egg, but I mean city and county. So if we could jot down beaches for a deeper discussion. You know, I know things are tight down there.
I think we need to add beach passes to that.
Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Discussion.
Exactly. Beach access,
Yeah.
beach nourishment, which obviously is ongoing.
Yeah.
Park, beach parks, you know,
Okay. Yeah, we've got them.
et cetera, et cetera, et
On
cetera,
some list.
with beaches.
We've got them on some
Yeah.
list.
Well, and this could, this other part of this, not to switch oars here real quick, but I noticed this accessibility and ways to make it easier for citizens to communicate with city council. Have you noticed that inability for the citizens to communicate with you?
Not at all.
Not today.
Not at all.
Well, I know, I don't, I guess I do mean to make light of it a bit, but no, I think that Carl and his staff has done, and Laura and everybody have done a really good job with social media. I think that at one time that was a problem. I mean, it really was, but, you know, I think that has gotten to where, I don't think that's a weakness of ours. I think it's something we need to continually work on, but I don't see that as one of our weaknesses. I mean, do you guys? I mean, there's lots of opportunities for people to come forward, and they don't seem to be at all bashful. So,
I'm sorry, where was that?
accessibility and ways to make it easier for
Yep.
citizens to communicate,
Okay.
it's pretty easy.
Council want to remove
I
that?
don't think that's a weakness, but that's just me.
You know, I had several
It
calls
doesn't
today,
feel
and they
good.
say, thank you very much for getting back to me so soon. So,
Yeah.
you know, I think
Yep.
we all try to be very prompt with our responses.
I don't know of a council that's getting more accessible. I don't know if it means between the internet and every which way.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yep.
And I don't want to make it seem like that, you know, we're forgetting about that. No, that's something that there's a lot of things we need to do, but I don't think it's our weakness.
Okay.
I don't think. But we could be told it is later, so, very easily, and that would prove my point.
Okay. Anything else? Then we run down into this list here, which also talks about, and I know these lists don't exactly always fit the definition of being internal, but you got your library, Florida Power and Light, full utilization of employees. That finishes up the list, I believe, right? Is that the last part? Okay. Anything else on weaknesses, right? Anything else? Okay, good conversation. Yes, Mr. Mayor.
As Do you feel as though you fully utilize your employees?
Yeah, I think
It's a rhetorical question now.
let me look at the employees. Do you feel fully utilized?
How is that meant to be a weakness? Does that mean that you're doing it too much?
Yeah.
Or that you really need to do that some more? You really need to work?
Well, Arlene's starting to lose hair.
Only on rainy nights with lightning, right?
I will tell you that, in my opinion, because of some of the reorganizations we've done and some of the promotions we've made since 2011, that they are utilized where their talents are and where their passions are, and I think we're approaching, if we haven't already passed overutilization there. They're working very hard for all our citizens.
I'm in favor of what the
I
mayor
would take
said.
that
I think
off.
we need to take that off.
Take it off?
Either that or put
Okay.
It's not a weakness.
overutilization of
Overutilization.
Exactly, it becomes a weakness.
Yeah, I mean, that becomes your weakness.
Okay.
You've stretched them too fast.
Take it off.
Take it off, full utilization? Okay. What else?
I don't know.
Opportunities.
Okay, moving on to opportunities. Bring that up, Jane, if you would. Is this the full list? Or do we have to go to another page?
No, it's huge.
We still got more. All right, so here are opportunities. Now, these are external, allegedly, okay? So what create opportunities, or what opportunities do we have to take advantage of better things?
Well, you've put the Wi-Fi in the city facilities, so you can take that off the list, because that's no longer an opportunity. You've done it. That's further down on the list, I'm guessing, probably.
Okay.
Technology, the bottom line.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wi-Fi in city facilities.
I mean-
We got Wi-Fi and everything now?
Right. but
All right,
you're-
we're working on it.
Yeah,
I mean,
so-
we're there, because we've got Lyles, we've got
Right.
Riverside Park.
Yep.
Okay. City Hall. All right, so take that, everybody okay with taking that off? When we've, okay. Okay.
What
What
about the
else?
Wonder Gardens? Is that,
But I want to leave it on there.
you want to leave it on there?
There's a private foundation being formed to try to support it.
Okay.
Yep.
We need to keep our thumb on it.
There's a
We've got-
501c3 formed already.
Right.
Yep.
We've got on here collect code enforcement liens. I think our staff does a darn good job of collecting those code enforcement liens and working on that and trying to get compliance. So I don't think that that is so much of an opportunity as it once might have been. I think I don't know how to, we're getting more compliance than we are trying to collect on that.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's such an opportunity.
Well, there's still, just so council knows, there are still situations going on where people have not complied, and they've got $250 a day fines being assessed against the property, so those fines continue to grow until compliance is reached. And then the fining stops, but that amount still stays there until
Right.
it's paid off or somehow mitigated.
I don't know how that becomes an opportunity to collect fines.
Well,
Are you talking about?
well, because some
revenue?
people would see it as a receivable. It's
yeah,
money
as
we
a
should be
revenue
collecting.
source.
Yeah.
More than that, I think, I'm not trying to run code enforcement, but $250 a day, they always mediate it down, so it leaves a false impression. A lot of people around the city, there's all this money waiting out there.
Yeah.
That's never really collected.
That's true.
We
And
can't-
it's not collectible.
No.
Because there's a lot of times when the fines get to the point where they're actually
Right.
2 or 3
You just
times
can't do it anyway.
worth the value of the property. You know, it's just not going to be collected.
I understand why they do it, but it doesn't make any real business sense, I don't think.
So did we want to take that
I mean,
off?
We also.
Well,
have
it's
a-
not real. It's a
Right.
facade.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's real down
code
there. Yeah.
you know, the whole notion that these code enforcement liens out there will someday be collected, it's not, that's not what they're for.
Right. And
It's not punitive in nature. I mean, it's not punitive in nature. It's meant to be an incentive for them to come in. And when they come in, you're supposed to collect the damages they've done, not necessarily that fine. So how can you say, yeah, that's an opportunity for us is to go cash in on the misery of all the people out there?
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, I don't know. It's like, why don't you put in there speeding tickets or whatever? I mean, I don't know.
Okay.
Bad debt, but bad debt, that's an opportunity.
Audrey had a thought.
Council, just for your, just remind you as well as the city manager, when we revised Chapter 2 last year, we changed mitigation hearings, making it very clear as to who had authority to do mitigation, and also making it so that the code enforcement lien automatically reduced at a certain point or certain threshold based on the property value, so that you wouldn't have these $5,000, let's say $50,000 piece of properties with $1 million lien. Because quite frankly, I get as tired as all of you reading the weird email rants that, you know, we're not doing anything because we're not collecting $1 million on something worth pennies on property that if we collected, we probably would have our own problems by collecting it. So just reminding you that we did change that this year.
Thank you.
So do you want collect code enforcement liens removed?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't
Yes.
think that that's sensitive.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna have that on there, it's a source, if you're looking at it as, wow, that's a gold mine, that's a source of income we could be tapping into, why don't you have ad valorem taxes up there? Strong ad valorem taxes. I mean, or a tax, yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yep.
Well, and again, even though we take it off the list, understand that's
You
part of
gotta
our
keep doing it.
responsibility
Right,
day to day
right.
is collect that.
Right.
Joe Ferber's out there doing
Right.
it, so.
Yes, he is.
Carl,
and he's
refresh my
doing a good
memory.
job.
Engage people and allow them to do things themselves. What context is that meant?
The bottom one
I don't
on the left.
I don't know what that, I don't remember what that
Opportunity and
means.
external
It makes no
opportunity.
sense
I don't remember the context of
for
that.
some reason.
Yeah.
Ask them to cut the grass.
That's good.
Don't know what that was.
Do it yourself.
Yeah. If we don't know what it is, why is it up
Would you
there?
like us to take it off
Yeah.
if we don't know what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably not that useful if we don't know what
Yes.
it is, right?
Yeah.
Do it yourself and give me $250. I'm sorry. We're the friendly city.
We just
Well,
did
I'm
the
sure.
lists.
Okay, what else? Anything else? Is that it for
Yes.
opportunities?
Yes.
Jane, that's it? Okay, so now anything else on this list before we move on?
Go ahead and move on.
I'm sorry?
You move on.
We already-
All right, we're moving on, okay.
Then we'll come back.
Threats?
That's,
Can we put specific names on there?
Yeah. Threats.
Sorry. Sorry.
All right, take a look at threats now.
Ben Nelson. Come on.
Now, these are threats not just to the city organization. These are threats to our city, to our community, okay? External.
Why do they call it threats? Because, to me, major concerns might be a better word, or two words, but
Threats.
it's just threats. It just, I don't know.
Yeah, well,
It kinda-
major concerns doesn't fit into the acronym of SWAT.
No, I know it
very
does.
well. Okay.
But I'm just saying, when you use the word threat, it just has more of a negative connotation on what's down here, that's all.
Yeah.
Well, and I look at this as more of you can look at this more philosophically because you could actually put things that aren't currently a threat but could hurt you at some point, I think. I mean, don't you think? I mean, what is something that even though economic stagnation, I don't think we're experiencing that, but that is a threat. That's something that could come and get us someday, so you have to be prepared in order for that to happen.
Or it's a major concern.
Yeah, I mean, so, yeah, I don't know.
external threats.
Well, and again, take a look at number 2 there, unfunded mandates. I mean, we fight those all the time
That's gonna
because
continue
you've got
forever,
somebody else, some other government mandating that you have to do certain things or spend this amount of money, and they're not giving you the money in order to do it. So how much is that going to cost and what does that mean to the budget as a whole? So.
We've got on here quality of water entering the city of Bonita Springs.
Say that.
Can we caveat also or add on to that the Lake-O water releases and what the potential harm to the beaches?
Yep.
Good one.
Can we just tie it onto that one? Is that what
Yes.
you wanted, like a dash? And
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay.
what is the, it says, I think it's a good list, but it says neighboring developments, find a way to address. What does that mean?
I don't know. Was that annex?
Oh, is that how he dealt with it?
That wasn't what was intended.
Let me check that off then. Sorry.
Okay. I think.
Annexation question?
I think that what neighboring developments meant was that if there are developments that are allowed, for example, northeast of us in unincorporated Lee County, and you got water flowing from there to us, what does that mean for us in terms of water quality and maybe even quantity? And we need to stay on top of those things. I think that's what that was, the context for that.
Wouldn't that be go? I'm sorry.
No.
Wouldn't that go with the quality of water entering the city of Bonita Springs then?
It could, yeah.
Sugar? I mean, do we need to drill down that far? Or?
Probably not, but, you know, we can add it if you want, whatever council wants.
I think under oil exploration, drilling spills, that's where we could add fracking.
Oh, you know what? You know
That
what's
whole issue.
confusing is the S
With fracking.
on the end of developments. And maybe a neighboring development could be anything. If somebody, let's say in North Naples, they go to build something that the city of Bonita Springs has no control of, nor can they,
Oh,
you know,
right. Maybe
and
that's
we have
it.
to find a way to address that. So, I think that's probably
Right.
it. So if somebody goes to put a chicken rendering plant
Right.
across from Spanish Wells in Collier County, well, one of my favorite
Right.
examples.
And if the wind always blows north, then, you know, what are you
Feathers,
gonna have?
feathers, everywhere.
Feathers, yeah.
And
So-
speaking of chickens, the chicks that they sell now at Rural King, where are they going?
I don't know where they're going.
I know someday where they're going.
Ah, Carl, where are
I
they
don't know.
going?
I don't know. I don't know what they sell to. I don't know.
We got 25 locations.
Okay.
There's only
Bonita Bay.
25 per Bonita
Where are they
Bay.
going? Where are those chickens going?
I hear they're coming over to Bonita Bay.
Yeah.
So, okay, so we've had a couple of suggestions here, so let's get back to it. So neighboring developments, leave that. Yes, everybody okay with that? All right, and then you want to add, no wait, I'm sorry, what?
I think he changed it.
To what?
The mayor has to take the S.
Oh, maybe just the S. It's just,
Development.
I think it just makes more sense without the S.
Okay.
Got that yet? I'm not so sure about Carl.
All right, and I heard Janet talk about down by oil exploration, drilling, spills. You want to
Fracking.
add
Fracking.
fracking?
Mhm.
Okay.
I
What
don't
else?
know
thought
where
there
it
was something
fits,
else.
but I want to add sugar somewhere, Carl.
Okay.
I mean, as a condiment or as a?
Well, just, you know, I mean, we all have driven to the center part of the state, and
water
there is a
quality-
product.
Water
that-
quality issue.
Right,
Yep.
water quality, sugar.
But is that tied to the Lake O thing?
Lake O.
It is,
I
right?
think I would think
Yeah.
so.
So we'll put
Yeah.
sugar next to the Lake
Please,
O.
that's what
I
Okay?
Thank you.
Okay, no problem.
Steve already had it on his paper, I guess.
Okay. All right. What else?
Flyover's a threat. Well, the possibility of a flyover.
Yeah, that would fit this. Is that council?
Yes.
Yes.
Flyovers?
That seems to be the deal.
Okay. What else?
Annexation questions, are the questions the threat? I don't understand. Or was that just, we just didn't know how to preface it better?
Probably
We
didn't
just
know how to
didn't-
word it any better.
We just didn't know
Yeah.
how to word it. and
Yeah.
We just didn't,
Yeah. Do you want to take that off?
Yep.
yeah, I
Are
don't know.
those all answered now?
Yep.
Been answered.
Okay.
Well, for me, they
They
have.
were answered. They were answered.
I don't know about everybody else.
Okay, what else? Is there anything more on this list, Jane?
That's all.
This is it?
I think so.
Okay.
Well,
Anything else on threats?
The citizen disconnected participation, I think that should still be on there because I think that there is, in some cases, I mean,
Yes.
you know, we have a lot of we have some very active vocal citizens. But I think that we need to do a better job of getting more people actually involved in participating and connecting. I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
And that's probably the silliest thing a politician has ever said, but I think it's true.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, that's internal.
What else? Anything else? We good? All right, so we've gone through those issues, right? Anything else? Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats? Nope. Okay, very good. We can just, want to just keep going here?
Yep.
Yeah, sure.
Good? Okay. So the next thing that we wanted to do is have a discussion and designation of strategic priorities. And we have one last document for you to look at. And Meg, you want to probably make your way up here. So
You got dressed up for this?
what we've done is we've taken the summary of what's been done, on hold, ongoing, and we've broken it down by objective into those items that are still ongoing. And the question, I just need you to be thinking about this list as we, and again, it's more detailed in your plans, but these things we've already started that are ongoing or are on hold, the question's going to be, do you still want these as a priority for the city, for us to continue to work on them, or leave them on hold, or take no further action? I just want you that to be part of your consideration. You want to keep moving them up there then, Jane, just so they get it. What we've done is we've just refined this down to the ones that are
So you want us,
So,
how do you want us
So
to?
you're talking about the list of general
priorities.
priorities: environment, communication, economic development, physical health, recreation, downtown. Those are the ones, and then you put them into these. Is that what you're?
Well, all I need to know is these specific strategies right here. There was one on the first page. There's two on this page. I think there's more, right? All right. And again, this is going to be on your action register, okay? But I don't have it broken out this way. But as you take a look at this action register right here where I gave you your status, anytime there's anything but a completed on there, the question is, do you want that still to be a priority for the city?
So are we skipping the strategic priorities list?
No, we're going to get there.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay.
We're on the.
But what I'm trying to do is just help you, give you another list to look at before we start the priorities.
Okay.
Stephen, did you have?
We're on the strategic plan action register, right? That's
Yeah,
what we're working
and the only part of that now that we're looking at here is the ones that say on hold, ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? All right. All right. So, and I only give that for you to look at and consider, and again, it's in front of you in your pages, okay?
This is the strategic plan.
So the first one was revitalize downtown Bonita, and that is ongoing, and I think, yes, absolutely, we need to discuss that tonight.
Okay? So what we're going to do is, okay, and I think we're done with you then, right, Jane? I mean, I didn't mean that the way it sounded.
So we're done.
Jane is great, really.
Jane,
You want to shut this off?
Yeah.
All right, now let me, before we get into this next part of this discussion, let me share with you what I've been hiding behind here. Okay.
That's secret writing.
So what I did prior to this meeting is, and I gave you a portion of this list in your packet. It's the very last page, all right? And these are questions that have been raised. I'm calling it the item list. And what I did was I took the different items and I tried to categorize them so I could bunch them into things that made some sense. This is not all-inclusive. Please understand, I still want to go through the exercise of the council saying to us, I think we need to do this. I think this is important. And we're going to list them, okay? And right now, I'm not asking for council to vote on everyone. We'll do that later with the dots, okay? So if one of you brings up something, we're going to write it down. And then we're going to keep going, all right? And then once they get voted on later on, then staff will take them away. We will regroup them according to some categories that make some sense. And again, council will get plenty to say about this later. But when you take a look at
Want us to start with
this here, the
number
objectives, a lot of these, right now we're talking about strategies and priorities. What do you want, okay?
Okay.
And what do you want to do with these things? And then we'll categorize them and get them into maybe 5 or 6 major
Do
categories.
you want us to start with your item list number 1, or do you want me to jump to my number 2 that I just brought up? So-
However you want to handle it, we're going to start listing them.
Okay.
However you handle it, okay?
You're on.
All right.
I don't have spell check over
Downtown,
here, so.
downtown revitalization.
Okay?
And yes, the vision as using the artist rendering
Okay?
for the bamboo property
Okay?
as a base.
Okay? You have to write faster.
I
Don't worry about
know.
it. As long as somebody can read it.
I've got
we're
a
okay.
great list
But you're going to have to be
here,
faster.
How
But I
about,
love you too. Okay.
I think that we need to discuss the future of Community Hall and whether we should put another dime into that dying building
Okay.
and whether there needs to be a new idea for that block.
Okay?
I think that, for me, a priority would be a consolidation of the government offices being downtown, and possibly with a relationship with Lee County government offices and library. So I'm just yelling out here, folks.
County library or city library? Sorry. I couldn't resist.
Either or.
Yeah.
You got all that? Thank-
How many millions would we save if we did it? I'm sorry.
12 cents.
12 cents.
So the millage would be 12 cents or whatever.
Well, let's talk about downtown since it's been raised. So, and again, my role here is just to ask questions and kind of get some comments and direction from the council. But when you take, no, we're okay. Yours is the master list now. It becomes the master list. So when you think of downtown, people say we don't have a vision. I think we've already covered this in a couple of workshops where there is a vision for downtown. And I think we actually have it in documents created by consultants. The rendering that Janet is talking about is the rendering that we commissioned so we would all understand what the word Old Florida meant in terms of architectural styles. And so, but is there anything more we need to do with this? Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Mr.
Okay.
Cotter.
Arnold
Who's
Bush.
that old? No one.
That was Arnold
All right,
Bush.
anyway. I do think we need to continue to plan and implement the next phase, which is the parking and the water quality.
Right.
That's the important part. That needs to be the next
Correct.
one.
Okay.
But I believe that it is time to do an RFP
Yes,
on the bamboo property.
That's on
I
the
think it
list.
is exactly
the time.
the time.
Okay.
And not to go into too much detail, but I think that if you really invite a bunch of really creative people to the party and let them just really jam on those ideas and leave the RFP as wide open as possible, somebody could come up with something really unique there.
All right. So is council comfortable? We have a vision. We are looking at walkable. We are looking at Old Florida style and ways to get there. We are looking at the projects that are going to be funded partially by the county, which is the centralized drainage system, more on-street parking, working to remove, either move the lines or underground the lines, hopefully doing something with the bridge. Those kinds of things is what we're looking for to entice the private sector, beyond just market-driven, but entice them to go there.
What about parking?
What about parking?
Well, everybody parks on bamboo right now, so if we do something with that,
Right.
we need somewhere for them to park.
Right. And that's a great question.
Well, yeah, and that's.
And we don't have an answer for that, but that's something we need to address.
Well, that's part of the.
Part of the RFP?
Part of the plan is that what we have to do is take care of the water situation. When we do that, we're gonna build in on-street parking, and we're also putting in other parking and other, but that's part of phase 2, whatever it is.
Right, and I believe that's going to be, Matt, that's going to be part of
wake
the,
up.
Matt, hello.
It's been a long day.
Answer me.
Oh, it's Audrey's fault, okay, so.
He's like, yes, it is.
Is parking going to be part of the design phase of, and I mean beyond on-street parking?
No.
That was a
Okay.
quick yes and a quick no.
We have $14 million for the downtown.
Right.
With stormwater being the primary focus, and then streetscaping as well as parking. There are some opportunities to expand our parking, probably along Phelps Avenue for on-street parking, which will gain spaces that currently don't exist. It's similar by where Community Hall is. There's some on-street parking in that area, but we could, turn that whole, every one of those city blocks, basically from Dean Street down to Wilson Street, could become parking spaces. In terms of having enough funding to build a parking structure and accomplish the streetscaping and accomplish the stormwater, I don't believe that we have enough funding in this first.
But there might be opportunities, and I'm just throwing this out, there may be opportunities for the private sector to be a participant in this. So anyway, Audrey first.
Just to add on what Matt was saying, and I'm sure Lisa will chime in if she thinks I have anything wrong on this. When we entered into the revenue sharing agreement with Lee County, we were very specific as to what projects were included in that. So
Absolutely.
the initial RFP that goes out that Matt is working on right now needs to be specific to that, so we don't have a problem with Lee County and obtaining their money. Now, with that being said, it doesn't mean that we couldn't, and from an auditing streamline, do it as like an additional work type thing to either that design or have it as a secondary stage. So we have very good separation of that money, so we don't have an issue with our partner, Lee County,
Well,
in receiving that money.
I'm not a lawyer, I just play one here sometimes.
Yeah.
My thought is that our RFP does not have to be constrained by our agreement with the county, only in that as long as we understand that whatever's not a part of the agreement, we're paying for.
Yes.
So,
But as long as you make it very clean.
well, sure, okay, but
that's-
again, we're down in the weeds, but okay. So right now, we don't have a plan. So Mike's question's very good. What do we do with the 300 cars that park on Bamboo when the art festival's there, all right? Or there's a major event and they're crossing the street. Where do those cars go if we're going to develop that place?
Our other piece of property.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
John?
You currently have in your land development code a fee in lieu of providing parking, but the weakness is a price for the fee was never established. So if you're looking to provide a funding source for those that redevelop downtown, if they're not able to provide parking, they are able to pay into that fund, which could then fund parking improvements.
That sounds like
But
a
isn't
plan.
it, but let me ask you this, isn't one of the incentives we're trying to set up here is that they don't have to worry about parking and stormwater because we're finding other solutions for them to do that?
That's one of the main incentives, and I think that if you modify the existing language, the two can work hand in hand. There are opportunities there if council wants to pursue that. Right now, there is no fee established, so there is no program. If you want to establish a program to help fund these additional projects that are not included in the $14 million, that's an opportunity.
You could also
Okay, so
get
that needs to
impact
be
fee
brought back
credits.
to us, options.
Okay, but we can look at all of these,
Right,
but
You can get-
parking is an issue we
Yep.
don't have an answer for.
You can provide
Absolutely.
government incentives for people to give parking spaces. In other words, have a privatized parking lot and give incentives to the entity providing the privatized parking spaces.
Between the back end of the church property we just bought, there's a gigantic area back there. It's really close to downtown area.
Yeah.
And it's almost easier to get from there
Yeah.
to the park area than it is from the
From
Bamboo
Bamboo.
property. Plus, the next block over was actually bought for that
For that
purpose as
purpose.
well. So I think that we've got like way more opportunities than we do problems.
Well,
Which leads me to the one time that I had brought this up with Carl just recently. I said that people, when they came to one of the things downtown, said, well, we don't even know where to park, and if we don't signage that other piece of property, I can't remember what street it's on, Felton,
Belton something.
that people don't even know that that is a city-owned piece. They drive around that block not knowing that they could even park on it. So at some point, there needs to be something that says that it isn't a special event overflow parking, so that it could absorb some of that.
Well, I will tell you that the Art League did have signage for that as parking. But again, people may not have understood they could go inside the trees.
Exactly.
So they parked along the outside. So
Sure.
let's talk about the church property. Because when we were able to get the church property at a very reasonable price, there was a lot of spontaneous discussion by council about what we could do with that property. And we started hearing about offices downtown and consolidating, their library could go there, other offices could go there. And so I think that that property has offered us an opportunity to have more of a look as to what to do with that property. But we do have parking questions, and we do have stormwater questions. In other words, right now, when we're talking about the back of the church lot, when we're talking about the entire block we were just talking about for parking, those may be needed for centralized stormwater, depending on how it gets designed. And so we've got conflicting uses that we just need to be aware of. Okay, because we can't, now unless, of course, we bury the stormwater, which will be expensive, and put parking on top. Can I do that, Matt? Can we do that?
No, you summed it up perfectly.
Right, it's just expensive, right?
Your price goes up and.
Okay.
But
So-
right now, we just need to put on there, do it.
Okay. We'll do what?
Just it.
Do our, what do you mean,
Planning,
do what?
do the planning. Do the planning, come up with a plan. We've got a really good start place from an RFP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was
Oh, the
name of it?
RFP is what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Whatever,
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever. Something, Ario.
Do you want church property?
Good group, nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Down here.
I don't know yet, we're not done. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the church property. When we're looking at an RFP, we're talking about the bamboo property right now. I will tell you that, and I think somebody's already mentioned it, I think it was Janet, that we had some significant projects lined up for Community Hall. Okay, Community Hall is a mess, okay? We're going to need a new roof. We need to make it ADA compliant. And that's going to cost in excess of $60,000?
Oh, you're over 100.
Over 100,000. And we were going to put a playground there, and I think we're going to go ahead with the playground because we can move the playground, all right, if we need to. But the question is, are we going to do something with Community Hall? And if so, would that be in a combined government facility that gets located on that 2 blocks? I will tell you that there are discussions underway of taking the sheriff's substation and moving the clerks to the firehouse and making it kind of a public safety building. There's some discussions about that. And so if you, and that building's not in great shape either, and that we own that too. So the question is, does it make sense to look at perhaps, and I'm just throwing this out, leveling that front lot, except for the bamboo tree, and to combine it somehow with the church lot?
Yes.
And then what do you do
Yes,
with that?
that makes perfect sense.
And what do you do with that? I mean, is that something
Well, I think
council
that-
wants us to look at?
Yes, I do, and I think that the frontage part of where Community Hall is located, not in front of the tree, because the tree is such a visionary part of our downtown on its own, but that frontage should be commercial. It shouldn't be a city hall or anything sitting right smack dab on the front. That's an opportunity for a fantastic restaurant or something to be right there across. I think that our city offices should be the block back. They should be to the rear of, but there should be an opportunity for something else right in the front there, right up along Old 41.
I think that it's a matter of timing is what you're talking about, you know, and you can't do everything all at the same time. And so you have to decide, well, what's our priority? And I think that because of the time that we're in right now, the timing is right. Well, you've got a big bill coming up, we've got a lot of money to pay for and a lot of improvements to be made. Who's going to pay for that? What's the best bang for your buck is to get somebody down there on RFP who's going to be paying taxes into that fund, who's going to pay for all these improvements, so you can build your new city hall down there. So you got to do that first. You got to do the RFP first. You got to get that moving. You got to get some private investment down there, and then temporarily you can go ahead and move the temporary parking to the back of that other part of it while you're doing your, you can do your plan all at the same time with community hall. And if you need to do something temporary, I mean, how many times are we going to invest into community hall? We've done community hall revampings a lot of times, right?
Yes.
It's like I thought we took care of that a couple of times, but anyway, I think that's the way you do it. But I mean, if we wait and we put tax dollars into a new library or a new this or a new that, when we could actually get somebody else to pay for it, but I'm sorry, by putting a development downtown, let's do that. It's people are beat. They are. I don't know. Can't tell you why they're calling me, but they're calling up. Hey, can we make a deal on that property? You got to wait. Got to get in line. You do an RFP on that thing. Somebody's going to do something really cool there.
It's time.
I think it's got. We got to do that first, and figure on that being the economic spark plug for the area. And some people aren't going to like that, but that is the star. Being on that water right there. That is the star for that area right there. And if you get that as the economic spark plug, the rest of the stuff that we've all invested in, it's all going to fall in line. It's all going to fall in line. And you can do the rest of it. Just my opinion.
Yeah, Bill.
So this is still only a temporary city hall?
What, this?
Well, I remember way back when it was originally, this was supposed to be a temporary city hall. Because we had the renderings down there years ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
City Hall, $10 million just for the city hall. Where are we gonna get the money?
What, you mean this one?
No.
Please,
$10 million for the one downtown.
Yeah, when you go to do something, yeah.
My personal opinion is we are good city hall wise here, only because we're not a big traffic generator here. Okay? And there's only so much space down there with the church property if that's where council decides to try to do something in the future. And if you're looking at doing perhaps a library there, which my personal opinion is that makes some sense, and I'd like to get some feeling from council about that down there, because the study from the county is underway and we want to be able to provide them some input with regards to that. But if you're going to do perhaps a library, however big that ends up being, as well as maybe some meeting space to replace community hall, I don't know,
Right.
as well as combined county offices of some kind, you're going to have a pretty good sized building there.
Right.
So the question is, do you want to try to add city hall? And
I'm fine with it here. Yeah, I don't think it really, like you said, it doesn't really draw people to the area, so it's not going to bring people to downtown.
Maybe community development, though, would be a thought process, because they do. There's how many people going in and out for permits, that maybe that would be something. They can't even find it half the time of where it is now. That might be a huge push for, you got to go in for a permit, but you're going to stop and get a cup of coffee. So that would be a lot of people coming and going.
how much space you got over there, John? Ballpark?
1,500 maybe?
1,500?
No, well, it's right around there.
Okay.
Plus or minus.
All right, that's actually less than I thought it would be.
Are
Bill?
we talking a whole different workshop here, though? I mean,
We can, sure.
I think the RFP is a reasonable private sector thing that we should explore, but as far as all that expansion of government, which do we want to do, or do we want to do both? And then you lose all the space. So the private sector and the RFP is a logical way to do this, and I support that.
And that's been the intent all along,
Yeah.
is for the community to get its investment back.
Yeah.
And more.
It's been 14 years and we're still waiting for the Santa
Yeah.
Claus to come by.
There you go.
Hasn't done that yet.
So is council comfortable with us having direction to put together a plan for downtown in terms of sequencing and how these might work and
Yes.
different considerations?
Absolutely.
Bring it back perhaps in a separate workshop, but definitely have direction to move forward on the RFP for bamboo. Go
Yes.
for-
Yeah.
go for-
Private sector.
Okay,
Yes.
you clear on that? Okay, good.
And then piggybacking on the downtown, the historic preservation, I think that it's time, and I would hope that council would think about this during budget time, that we bring back the historical preservation grant program for restoration, because we do have some historical properties downtown, and as we're revitalizing and moving forward, it would be nice to have that little bit of incentive money to help save those and show our commitment as a city to those historical properties and help those business owners and residences work towards something better. And that would be a consideration at budget time.
Okay, we'll write it down.
Yep, thank you.
Preservation, historic preservation grants downtown.
Yes.
Okay. Harleen?
We currently have some facade renovation grants for historic preservation currently included in the economic development incentives that you have all adopted already. It's a not to exceed $10,000. So there is currently a minor historic preservation opportunity in the current economic development incentives.
We might want to rethink a little bit on a larger scale than just the minor one. So that's just something to talk about.
Okay.
Well, while we're talking RFPs too, Mike, I need to ask you, the Levin property, that vacant lot that's right across from you guys' place right there?
In front of Napa?
I mean, what's your opinion, not as a council person, but as somebody who's a business person in that area right there? Do you think you would be better served by having something that's an attractor there, or a good business or something there, instead of having a dirt parking lot?
Yeah.
I mean, should
Like
we do an RFP on that one
Yeah,
as well?
I
mean,
think we should too. That's
what we
frontage.
plan to do.
It's
I mean,
prime frontage.
and you could pick whatever goes in there.
Right.
Again.
It would be
Yeah.
so nice to have a actual completed city block.
Especially because we can actually pick and choose what exactly goes in there. Yeah, that's the thing we want in there.
A nice art gallery or
Okay,
something.
so council's okay with going out for
Steak and Shake.
RFP, Steak and Shake? I vote for that.
He's
He
like,
just said steak and
done,
shake on the corner.
done.
So
Dunkin'
RFP
Donuts.
for Levin,
Yeah.
the Levin property?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Special events. Do we want to talk about special events for downtown?
I'm all for them.
Me too.
No road closures.
No road closures.
Well, Celebrate Bonita is one thing, but
Okay.
it hurts all the businesses there, and like the art show, I think it hurt the art show when people couldn't get down there because of the traffic.
And how's that going to be fixed if the road's left open? Traffic's still going to be heavy because people are coming to the
Yeah, but
event,
they're not
right?
being diverted. And traffic's going to flow better if the street's still open. As soon as you do the detours, it cuts down on that.
Okay.
And just, people coming down the road, they just see a big flashing sign saying, showing detour, then they'll turn around before they even get there, so they don't know what's going on.
Okay, so if we were to write down, continue special events, work towards no road closures, I mean, is that
No,
fair?
Well, I think you need to explore it. I mean,
Right.
I think there needs to be some data. I mean, and that's one thing, it's one thing to figure out what the effect is, but what's the effect of not doing it? I mean, as well, I think that, and I think it's fair on the standpoint of the people down there that, I've lost a lot of money and stuff like this. Well, okay, we need to look at that. But maybe there's a way we can reroute, we can limit, we can make it go a different direction. Maybe there's some things we can do. So I think that it's a fair request on the parts of them, for us to look at other options.
Okay.
I think it would be a good start.
There's pedestrian crosswalks already there. We have the police that can help with the crossings. At Daytona Beach, they do Bike Week, Biketoberfest. Hundreds of thousands of people, and their roads are still open.
I just got a request, an email from somebody says.
Saw that.
Can you close the roads during the Veterans Day celebrations because it's disruptive.
It's disruptive to
It's
the
disruptive
event,
and
exactly.
disrespectful to have traffic going by while they're doing it. And I'm like, and as a good mayor does, I gave it to Carl. So.
And what did Carl do with it?
I'm giving it to you. Now it's full circle.
I think
Gave it to Arlene and Laura.
I'm gonna jump in here and say that I think that sometimes that when we have these events, it's what every other community is doing. They're closing their main streets. Downtown Naples, Fifth Avenue, they close that whole length of it for events all the time. For the whole time. That is a thoroughfare. People go through. But I think that also for the businesses that are there, there's a missed opportunity for marketing. That you've got a captured audience right there, and there's plenty of ways that I could think of, and I'm not even a marketing person, to say that I could benefit from having all those thousands of people right in my front door. So I think maybe there needs, as we look for those, if you're going to take a look at it, you got to look at those other things that can be done as in marketing options too, to enhance that opportunity to have that many people right in front of your business.
Well, plus when you do the RFP for the place, you want to be sure that the person who goes in there knows that, hey, look, there's a lot of activity that happens here.
Right.
You know, you're not going to put a doctor's office here and expect or whatever, or a clinic or whatever like that. We need to be sure that it's something that's conducive with walk-in traffic or something. Those are the kind of things that you kind of are going to be better suited for the area if it goes on like this. But I think, to answer Mike's question, I think that instead of making a staff decision here, go, no go, I think that it's something that you need to work on. It's definitely something you need to work on in respect for everyone down there.
Okay. What about mobile food vendors?
No.
Now, we just outlawed them unless they were part of a special event. And
Food Truck Fridays.
We're having, well, okay. So we have been asked about the possibility of having a food truck event down there where they would gather in a particular location, and it would be a special event basically to itself. Your special event ordinance says that these things kind of need to be periodic, temporary in nature, which means maybe weekly might be too much, but maybe every 2 weeks or monthly. The question is council willing to, and I know we've got to kind of put together a proposal and see what they want to do, but I mean, are you inclined? Again, the reason we put the restriction in place was so that there was not unfair competition amongst those people who are actually paying rent in brick and mortar buildings.
Right. But there's a lot of data to support also that a lot of times in cities that have done this, that those people who start with a food truck end up becoming a brick and mortar restaurant because they have a huge following and they know then that they can support themselves to move forward and create it. We were just in Tallahassee, and as our bus took us around the corner, it was pointed out that's where they do their food trucks. They have an actual fenced-in area, and 1 day a week there's food trucks there, and it's done in the middle of Tallahassee. So but other cities are doing this all over. So I'd like to look into that, the possibility of that.
Okay, that's good. All right, we got it down.
You know, how many food trucks are you talking? I mean,
I don't know.
Well, I think just starting out slow, make it a food truck pilot program.
Yeah, exactly. There might be 6, there might be 8. You know,
are you talking about pulling them into the park?
Pulling
them into the park?
They're usually, it's usually the
in
truck
the park,
or whatever,
in the park.
and they would just congregate in one special place, just for that limited time.
Right.
If you want to draw people, which we do at all public events that we have, you're not going to attract people down to 41 or with food vendors serving stuff out of a truck. It's not going to happen. And if we copy and we look at other cities, and I guess I'll talk about Naples because obviously it's a successful operation down there, on 3rd Street South and 5th Avenue. Of course, they built their parking high-rise behind and so forth. But if you're going to change the attitude of people in our community that live here now, you've got to make it as attractive as you possibly can. And you need places like, and I'll use something that's in Fort Myers, the Veranda Restaurant as a classic example of an older building that is still extremely popular, and of course parking those on public streets. And that's, I believe, would be more attractive than having food vendors in trucks. But that's my personal opinion.
Okay, so we'll put it on the list and you guys can vote and,
Okay, there you go.
we'll look into it.
Cool.
Okay.
What kind of food are they gonna be serving?
Well, there's a whole variety you can get out of the truck.
Cupcakes, you can get all sorts of things.
Nice and greasy.
Is there anything else about downtown? Is downtown revitalization still a high priority, generally speaking?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm hearing yes.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, all right. Then that will still remain. All right,
And when you get named the best venue in Southwest Florida, it's working,
yes.
right?
Yep. Yep. Okay. What else do you want to talk? Do you want to talk about economic development while we're kind of at it? I mean, we and I just added this because it's not something that's come up before, but it's something we've been working on. We think fairly successfully. However, there's been concerns raised that perhaps we're too easy. We're not asking for enough. We're not being hard enough with regards to, in particular, uses in certain areas, perhaps, as well as architectural standards. And the question is that, where do you all stand on where we've been going? We've worked hard to make the processes easy, usable, user-friendly. We unsolicited get great comments, okay, from the development community. Now, there are people who would argue that that shows we're just being too easy, okay? How does council feel about this?
Well, I have to tell you about some of the comments as a contractor about this whole thing and the way that the city of Bonita works, because we've worked with all of them around everywhere like here. City of Bonita Springs isn't known for being able to do anything that you want to do. What they're known for is that if they're going to tell you no, they're going to tell you no right away. That's what you want from local government. If it's a no, it will don't wait 6 months and then no. No, if it's a yes, say okay, here you go. Be a facilitator. There's nothing wrong with the government being customer friendly, not business friendly, consumer friendly, customer friendly, because it's not just businesses that come in there. It's mom and pops, it's Mike and his uncle. It's everybody like that. When they come into the building department, they want to do something, and if it's a no, just tell them. And that's what happens there. And if it's a yeah, show me how to do it. I think we've been tremendously successful with that. And a lot of the annexations, I don't care what anybody says, a lot of the annexations that have happened, a lot of the businesses that have come here is because of that. It's because of the consistency. It's being consistent. And you know what? As far as development and us, too many cars and stuff, how many zoning cases have we seen in the last 2 years? What, a handful? There's not a lot going on. We're being lucky to fill up the buildings that we've got. And I think we're doing a good job of it. So I think we just keep doing what we're doing. I think it's obviously working. We've got a great reputation. And we don't have a reputation of allowing anything weird to happen. I can't think of an instance.
That instance, I can tell you which one it is, and it's going to be the storage unit near the boat ramp, the Lee County that we got. But that's property right issue. That's not a.
Well,
it was zoned for something like that. So how do you say okay, no,
well,
unless we're going to buy it?
And that's part of the overlay that we're working on right
Yep.
now for a new 41.
Yep.
What we are working on this moment
Is the big box.
is, well, yes,
That
big
too.
box, but beyond that, we are also looking at opportunities to put in place special exceptions for certain uses so that we have more control over those
Right.
uses and how they come in and those kinds of things. So and you're going to be seeing that soon, okay, in terms of we want to start the process to get it in place so we've got those protections in place even as we develop more of the standards,
Awesome.
okay? So,
I think it's important to note that, while I'm going on and on about this, that you can have great architectural standards, you can have restrictive building codes, you can have things that are of high quality, and you can do it in an efficient manner. There's nothing to say that you can't be efficient and do that. That's all a developer cares about.
Time is money.
Just be efficient. Just tell me what you want me to do, and I'll go ahead and do it. And I think that that's what our goal ought to be is, yeah, let's demand quality. Let's watch what we allow in these allowable uses. Let's get it right. I mean, we're trying to get it right. But you know what? Let's strive to be efficient. Being slow and being pokey and being inefficient doesn't equate to being careful. It doesn't. It just doesn't.
okay. All right. So, is there anything about economic, let me just ask you, is generally economic development still a high priority for the city?
Well,
I
yeah,
think
'cause
it is. I think it is.
It's got to feed right into what we're trying to do downtown.
Well, I know, but the last time in 2011, these two were separate.
Right.
Revitalized downtown and economic development citywide.
Well, it has to
were
remain
two separate.
important then, because we can't do one without the other.
If you want to relieve the tax burden on the people in the Bonita Springs, the ad valorem tax burden on them, then you need to let them have places where they can shop in Bonita, so they're not taking their money to Coconut Point and to down here.
Okay.
Pure
So
and
this
simple.
is, economic development's still high. Keep doing what we're doing. Obviously, always checking for improvements, right? Everybody comfortable with that, just generally speaking? Okay, good. Be sure to write these down, so. All right, anything else downtown? Anything else economic development-wise? Is there anything we need to be doing in economic development that you're hearing about that we need to address, at least get down on the record here? Anything, any concerns that you have? Okay. All right. Because I know John and Arlene are working hard every day, the entire team working hard every day to make sure that we are customer friendly. Customer friendly. Okay? All right. Another big one has been beautification. I have added Hickory Boulevard here as a discussion point. Beautification generally, and again, these are just comments randomly that we've heard in building this list, but this is not, we're not saying these are important things, that's for you to say. Obviously, we've got the landscaping here for $3 million. The question tonight is, do we look for opportunities for Hickory Boulevard, especially since there appears to be some matching opportunities there for money? Is that something everyone is comfortable with?
Absolutely.
I don't know what we're talking about yet.
Flowers and shrubs, that's what I heard.
Whereabouts though?
Starting right at Barefoot Beach.
Okay, and heading
north.
From there? Okay.
Awesome.
What about the entrance area up north?
I didn't hear that.
Okay, all right. That is county right away, but it won't be the only county right away that we're dealing with.
Well, could we add just kind of gateway areas in general? I mean,
yeah.
I hear a lot about that, the entrances and exits to the cities.
Right. Well, Matt, it might be helpful if you, like, in 6 sentences, tell them where we're at with regards, generally speaking, where we're at with regards to the approach to our landscaping.
What we did, we presented, I think back on the 15th to council, was a kind of a flexible approach. And we took the streets that I talked about in the landscaping initiative and kind of broke them down. I believe it's 8 streets total. And so whole length of 41, East Terry Street, Bonita Beach Road, Imperial North, Imperial South, the I-75 interchange, and I might be missing one. But I've been working with the landscape architect, Christian Bust, on US 41, from county line to county line. And he's just starting on East Terry Street, because that was kind of the guidance we got was, we looked at arterial roads and local roads, and we're trying to do 2 and 2 and 2 as we go through time, as fast as we can. And I will be back to you for the finishing and the contract for 41, because he's got to about 30% plans. now we're ready to execute the full thing. As soon as those things are fully designed, we're ready to pick up with any of those streets. Thus far, it looks like we will be, based on the 30% option, it'll make a significant change in the way the city looks, very significant.
I think Matt's pretty pleased with the plans you've seen so far, is that right?
No, absolutely. And he's also incorporated plantings and types of plantings that are going to, as best they can, reduce those maintenance costs, so that we're not out there 100% pruning them all the time, but yet we'll still get the effect of really changing the character and nature of how Bonita feels along those corridors.
Awesome.
Will he be supplying some type of rendering so the council will be able to, those of us who kind of like it visually, will be able to see something?
I do have some drawings, as well as them on, line drawings that show. Really, if you listen to his approach, it actually really explains. I don't know how to put it. When you look at a line drawing, you can see where the trees go, but the way he explains it really fills the picture about different textures, different heights, staggering heights, how the plants grow. So I think that presentation,
Yeah, that's like,
get a picture of
we'll
how
have
this-
him come in and
Yeah.
talk through it? Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, he'll come back and give a report on this.
Great.
Yeah, that's good.
Chris, right?
Chris Buss.
Make him draw a pretty picture. We want a
So-
pretty
We don't want him
picture.
to talk, we want to see his
Carl?
pictures.
Yes, sir.
I had kind of I did mention it last year, and I don't know, the mayor was saying, flowways and entrance points to town. But out near the highway, I just, I don't know, maybe it's hokey, maybe it's not, I just want to mention it, spit it out here. Do we put a lighthouse out there? Do we put a dolphin? Do we do something out on 75 that says, "Welcome to Bonita Springs"? I don't know, it doesn't have to be a lighthouse, it doesn't have to be a dolphin. Just something. I mean, how many hundreds of thousands of people pay, wait a second. That's that town where I saw no town does it. I'm not saying we have to. I think it's just something with all the traffic zipping in and out of there that would make us look different, might make somebody want to stop.
Well, it does say Gulf Beaches.
It does say Gulf Beaches, I get it, and I just throw it out there. If I'm
Okay.
along with that thought, that's fine too. But,
Okay,
yeah.
What is better?
we'll put it down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So then we talk about landscape compliance and architectural standards. I mean, when you take a look at kind of Peter's comments about the vision and wants us to be the jewel, we are the jewel.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really a combination of public landscaping on the right-of-ways and the medians, landscaping for the private sector,
Right.
okay?
Yeah.
Which we have some control over if you've done a DO, all right? But if you're grandfathered and you're in before those ordinances, then you don't have to be in compliance, which means then would council, and I think Arlene mentioned this earlier in a prior meeting, would council be interested in opportunities for incentives to be
Yes.
offered for the private
For those,
sector
yes.
to do something more
Mhm.
with their landscaping? And then, of course, when we talk about compliance, if CH2M Hill needs an additional body on the street to make sure that these private sector folks, and there's a lot of them, are in compliance, the question is, are we interested in looking at that because this is important?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm not asking necessarily for a decision tonight, but I mean, I'm kind of being theoretical here, but manpower-wise, I think they would be stretched. So we would probably either need an additional person in code or an additional person in CH2M Hill in order to do
To accomplish that. I think-
landscape
I personally
compliance.
think it's important. I think that the city, we're stepping up and doing what we can to make the city beautiful, so I think that it needs to be done globally.
Okay.
As long as we hold ourselves to the same
Exactly.
standard.
That's right.
Which brings us to something I had on my list, was that I think that we're missing an opportunity with our community pool to dress that place up and make it look pretty.
Okay.
And kind of do a before and after, like this is what it could look like if you do it. And that Chris,
Do it right.
Chris's input on that.
Yes, we need to hold ourselves to the same standard. Recently, we had a redo of some of the landscaping around City Hall because we were not even in compliance here.
Right.
All right. Bill?
I think if you look out at City Mattress out on Beach Road, they're a large company, their corporate headquarters are there, and their place looks beautiful. It's a good example for the private sector to use that as the model.
And then you look at the media.
Good point.
Oh, yeah.
And my point is, I'll hold ourselves to the same standard.
Yeah. But don't forget the county's
It's on
involved.
the list, right?
Don't forget
on the
the
list.
county's involved with the road, and I just turned it into the other day, and where the 4-laning is, the swale, and the things are coming up, and oh, geez. But that's county, and I don't know how we work with the county to step up to with their obligations on certain places.
Well, if we end up putting landscaping in there, it will become our obligation. So if we want the county to step up, I'm sure they're more than willing to turn it over to us.
Really?
Yes.
And then they'll turn over the beach too. We'll be okay. We'll make an even swap.
That's right here. That's right here. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. Nicole's like, yes! Okay. All right, so important enough that staff would be allowed to perhaps propose some resources in the coming budget. Proposed, council has to consider it, okay? And then part of being the jewel is not just landscaping publicly, privately, but also the architectural standards.
Right.
And we want to be tougher than we've been. I mean, are you looking for upgraded standards? Are you looking for?
I don't think that's tougher. I don't think that's the way to preface it. I don't know what you mean.
Well, I may be,
I think.
Yeah, no, it's good.
I think
You mean more upscale?
More upscale.
I think the standards need to be better. I mean, we need to have better standards so
Okay.
far as what people need to be.
Bottom line, great.
I think, but I don't think that's tougher.
Well,
Yeah.
all right. Well, I used the wrong word.
I got you.
Right. So,
but I think it's all.
We got it, Carl, don't worry.
But here's the thing. I mean, people may call you up. I mean, you'll have to pass the standards, which, by the way, you've been doing as we've gone along. We appreciate that. But there will be people calling you when staff says, "No, you can't do that. We'll help you get in compliance. Here's some ideas." And staff, that's our expectation. Staff does that all the time. How do you get from A to Z? That's part of being customer friendly.
Right.
There will always be those people who do not want to spend the money,
Exactly.
do not care for the community the way we care for the community, and they will say, I don't want to do that, and be prepared sometimes for those phone calls.
Absolutely.
All right?
Meg's got the right word up there, enhance.
We're hoping, I'm sorry?
Meg's got the right word up there, enhance.
So, just,
It's a win-win for the whole community.
Well, a lot of that comes from confusion, though. I think that if it's done in a manner that and John knows that the community development knows this better than anything. If people know what's going on when they come in, well, they're okay about it.
Right.
It's when something happens to where they think, wow, they're looking at the wrong one or the wrong page, or it's that's when they grouse. They don't grouse when they go to make their plan on their development and they know what to do. It's when they come back in and they go, oh no, that ain't gonna work. You're gonna have to use this plan here. That's when they grouse. So I think that's all part of getting it right. It's difficult. Meeting customer expectations with what the reality is always difficult.
well, it is, and we work hard to set the expectation up front. We really do.
Yeah.
And so we'll certainly work in that direction. Now, there are some people who would say that if the city does this, in fact, even with what the city has already done, that we are over-regulating the private sector. And my thought about that is, if you don't ask for what you want, if you don't require what you want, that the lowest common denominator will actually be reality. They will do only what you can force them to do. And if it's not an enhanced enough regulation, then you're not going to get what you want.
Yep.
Okay, we're all good? We're good?
Carl, refresh my memory, and it's a good example because everybody goes by it, well, not every day, but a lot. The new Publix going in. Now, obviously, those aren't enhanced standards, but it's not even done to me, and it looks phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, what's going in? I mean, they're planting trees. It looks great. But is that their standard, someone's, Publix, or is that a super Publix, or is that a semi-modified Publix? I mean, yeah, I'm just curious.
Yeah, I'll let John answer the question. John?
It's on the higher end of their scale.
Yeah.
They modified it slightly. When the building was originally designed to be closer to the intersection of 41 and Beach Road, it was a little bit different. When they moved it back, there was not as much detail on those sides next to the building, simply because there wouldn't be enough room for them to put breaks in the wall and still allow access. But it's one of the higher end designs.
Yeah. It was,
Okay. Yes, John, go ahead.
I feel better now.
Okay, that's good. John?
We've had a lot of applications for new cell towers. And if the council wants us to take a look at it, I think that we could use an update to our current ordinance. A lot of the technology for construction has changed since our ordinance was written and passed, and we're having a tough time keeping up with the requests that are coming in. So if this is something you wouldn't mind us bringing back to you at some point in the near future.
That's fine.
Cell towers are going to be a challenge.
Absolutely. But back to the Publix just for a second. So that was voluntary. I don't know. Why don't we use that as a pivot point? Look, Publix did it voluntarily. This is what they did. Those enhanced standards are now the minimum standards, and go from there.
We can't really force them to do more than the minimum required by law.
No, I understand until we change.
Yeah, but now if you're talking about, here's an example, sure, absolutely. In fact, that's one of the reasons why we did the architectural rendering for Old 41. We wanted to show them what we were talking about, because sometimes the narrative just doesn't work, doesn't cut it. So.
Well, John, back to the cell phone towers. We don't need more cell phone towers. We need less cell phones. Okay?
I've heard that argument.
Is Pat still here? No? Dang it.
I have Sprint. Speak for yourself. I can't get a signal.
Also part of being the jewel is signage, and there is such a balance there between appropriate signage so that businesses can survive and do well, okay, versus a lot of stuff that comes out that is in regulations where we want it to look nice. And we think people come to Bonita in this area because it is beautiful, because they can be prosperous, they can be successful. But signage has become more of an issue than before. Now, Chris is tightening things up with your approval, of course. And so in a year, what we've allowed them to do because of the bad economy, they'll be back lined up with what your current regulations are. So we'll always be looking at signage in terms of the DOs and what it should look like and those kinds of things. We are trying to transition away from pole signs. But one of the things that we get ourselves jammed up on is special event signs. And we've had multiple requests to be able to put them throughout the city. Sometimes they just stick them out there anyway. And then code's got to go around and collect them all. And those are those little snipe signs. What are your thoughts about it? And again, special events, I mean, if we're co-sponsoring one, or even if we're not co-sponsoring one, if it's downtown, it's bringing business to the downtown, do we want to have some lessening, I can't believe I'm saying this just after this last discussion, but do we want some lessening of the special event signage allowed? I mean, do we want to provide some consideration? Again, we don't have to fix it tonight. The question is, would you like staff to look at it?
Well, just to give you an opinion on this real quick, is that I think that if somebody applies for a legitimate special event permit, along with that permit, you could entertain the thought of allowing them, okay, with that special event permit, you get 10 signs. And you know what? If you don't pick them up, we're going to charge you $5 a sign after the end, or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Something fair.
Okay.
Because it would save probably somebody's life hunting around trying to find the whatever the heck it is that they're looking for. I mean, but you could come up with something. I don't know.
Right. Laura?
The special event committee has asked for this to be reviewed. We want to get to Celebrate. They brought it up for city events, and we've also heard it from 3 to 4 other large events in the city. Just so that you know, the special event committee does want to take a look at it, give a recommendation.
Yeah, I've wondered for years why we don't have signs across the major road that talk about Celebrate Bonita.
We tried that one, the banners, the banner.
This is the banner sign.
41.
Well, the banner sign's going to be in the RFP for downtown, yes, no?
Yes. it
Yes.
Actually is.
Right.
But can I speak to that?
Go ahead.
The banner sign that you see like on Fort Myers Beach, it gets very hard, and that's why we threw it into the RFP for the downtown. It gets very hard for us to get an engineering firm to give us some plans for that because of the wind loading. They try to treat the sign like it's going to stand up to a hurricane force wind, even though we know.
Or like you're not going to take it down when the wind starts
Right.
blowing.
But it's hard with the liability issues, so we rolled that into the downtown RFQ to try and put that issue to rest.
Awesome. Okay.
So, yes, look.
And don't use Fort Myers Beach
It's
anymore,
good.
for example. It's no good.
No, use it.
Okay.
So I didn't know if there was any sustainability.
Okay, well, we've got.
I know you've got so much to do.
We've got to take a break here at this point. Okay, so we'll continue to look at signage, commercial, we'll look at signage for special events, maybe tied to our special event permits. Anything else with beautification? We've talked about Hickory.
The lighting standards?
Lighting standards. All right,
On the,
what about it? Lighting standards?
Well, I know we have something coming up on the bringing everybody up to the current lighting standards, but
In 5 years,
yeah.
right? Yeah,
I have a
commercial.
thing with
Right, is that,
Well,
Okay.
overall, everything, street lighting.
well,
If we're redoing everything or looking at redoing things,
Well,
I
but
think
then
we
you
should look
get-
at everything.
well, we can look at everything. The question is, how do you enforce it? I mean, you've got hundreds and hundreds of street lights. You've got, if you're talking residential area, I don't even know how many residential units we've got. So I think the concentration was going to be in the commercial areas, especially in those areas where you've got those security lights. But if council wants us to go certainly beyond that, we would like to know so that.
Something like this, you've got to take baby steps on. I mean, if your goal, if your long-term goal is to have dark skies, whatever, and it's up here, okay? You don't get there in a year, you don't get there in 5 years, you don't get there in 10 years. You need to work your way up to that, or you cause a great deal of trauma and a great deal of expense on the city's part, I think. I mean, because you're talking a lot of manpower and stuff. So I think that you can set a long-range goal that, yeah, that's where we want to be if we're setting a 10 or 15-year goal out there. But in that our own street lights, we have subject ourselves to the same thing. So that way, when you go to replace those fixtures, where you're doing it in a manner that is consistent with that, and you're not retrofitting your own
Well,
stuff.
that's what I thought all this was we're just putting guidelines out there for the future.
Yeah.
As we go.
But I think you got to look at the lifetime. I know it's a long time away, but when we're talking about every Cobra head light that we have in Bonita Springs, if you're wanting those to come to terms with the same light standards, it's going to be a tough way to go for the city of Bonita.
Okay. Well, we've got them down.
Signs becomes a whole can of worms because I think in a way signage can become pollution in itself. And there are many places, communities that have addressed it where they have uniformity in their signage for commercial buildings. And I think that that might be something more that, like, if you have a strip mall or a shopping center, that there's got to be a uniformity done within it so that you don't have all this different size fonts and colors and craziness. It would just, like Grandpa's Pizza, that they just redid the signs on the facade of that building, and they're more uniform, and it makes a difference.
Okay. Good. Anything else with beautification? Okay. We are half an hour past our planned break. So would you all like to have maybe take 10 minutes? Is that okay? Sure.
Yes, please.
10 minutes? Okay, take
Yes,
a 10-minute
please.
break. All right. Which game?
We should have done early.
Yeah.
That's what I'd say.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. That's fine.
Are you out of town? You out of town? Just take a couple days off? Oh, have you? I don't really sign up for work around there. You're taking a couple days off.
No, I think,
What's your entitled to?
I just put the time in, but I remember, early or
Tuesday.
Tuesday?
That, I will tell you, that is one word, those two words, I constantly, that's probably, you know how people always say
Leonard property is a square-shaped piece of property which is directly across the street and north of the community hall. Right now it's used for, it's vacant.
Okay, yeah, they just sent me a package, but I don't think that does it. But yeah, it's,
We just bought this last year.
did you make notes?
No, but they did have one thing that was interesting.
It's in front of your house.
So we don't have to travel. You could take it.
And how big is that?
Yeah, October's kind of not a.
I don't.
It depends
It's
on
not something you're thinking about yet, but.
Well, no, I was thinking about doing the one that was in August because Four Seasons, October.
Yeah.
So we're asking.
More limited on what I can do.
August is the whole thing.
And for no, not for community hall. It's for just Levin and Bamboo.
How's everything going?
Hello. It's tougher tonight, huh? You didn't have the story all written already.
About last page.
Until the next
There's an
round
interesting
starts.
story there.
Yeah.
Hello.
Oh,
No, that is strictly for
But the people that were grandfathered before left.
Yeah, there's sometimes, there's some cities, there's a five cities that require
Crank it up here.
At least for them.
representative.
Yeah, but the whole point is, I would like to just.
That's why I gave you the case law, I gave you
I know
everything.
you
So
did, but isn't there any way we can put anything on the ballot that's not binding?
Well, this is strictly for land use. You're talking, yes, you can do a non-binding referendum like the DRCR.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, it's non-binding.
At least then everybody would know.
It's still non-binding.
I'm gonna take a picture.
Oh, okay.
That's what people would like to see. They should express it.
Graffiti artists, run amok. Bonita City Hall.
How much are you gonna get their opinion?
Because I'm going to say, I'm going to vote no because that's what people want.
It is past happy hour. You know what? I don't have to get up early tomorrow morning, so.
Oh, it's out of school night?
So
what are they doing on your day?
Told me.
If massive, I know how I feel about it. That's not how you weigh evidence.
I'm not in the court.
This one I can cross.
But you are when you're
And he had to give me
remember I said it's the king. That's why my voice is like, no, it's not like I'm
And he gave me 40
because it's true.
Fine, this week.
Well,
He's got it, it's reached the point where I know it's time. It's
take
time.
good notes, let me know what the results are.
Okay, that was
but I know I'm
better,
gonna
'cause
be
I think
going down that.
Really?
I've done the operation already. Well,
Scopes?
Again, it's not evidence.
No,
for
more
a
than that.
decision. You can have one.
But it's, people could, whatever the petition says, they can say, do you or don't you?
Oh my God.
Sure, you can decide to
That's
vote.
the
You
good
have
news.
this. I mean, at the end of the day, put me in the bad spot, because then I'm sitting there, you see, oh, I have these petitions, I have to vote no. I said,
My ball playing days are over.
once you see the evidence, if you see things, the evidence will tell you no, God bless you.
Limited to when you have
But if you have evidence, yes, either way.
Well, I gave up any kind of running, jogging, whatever, a long time ago. My left knee has got no cartilage, no cushion.
You're one on both?
Yeah.
That's right.
So I do I can do an elliptical, you know, because there's no.
You can ride the bike.
Right, and that's fine. I know it's just a matter of time before.
Well, see,
Go ahead, I can't get out of bed.
I've been on the civic shots, and if you've heard about it, but every 6 months you're entitled to, and what it is that, see, I fill out, right, so you can actually feel the fluid here. And so I fill out the fluid, and then we suck the fluid out, and then you fill it. Now, that's synovial fluid, so that's the actual stuff that's supposed to be. But now, I mean, I've been doing that for 2 years.
You're not getting results.
And then
We already knew that.
I don't have kids anymore. I can do whatever I want.
These days, they're getting such great results with Dr. You don't get you out of bed the next day, and you're good to get you.
Gotta stay overnight in the hospital, though.
They actually have you flexing, I guess. So we were that day.
All same. The next day, they say you start on the next day, you're up, and you start moving. He's also a specialist.
So when you have the
28,
you need that, you might as well play in Syracuse.
Yeah, right.
Oh, no.
You guys sat for a long time that time. Get up and move around. Thanks, John.
I know the feeling.
Yeah.
Next thing, of course, I have to get the
Where are you going with the eggplant?
Huh?
Where are you going with the eggplant?
Just gets my card.
You didn't want any more anyway.
Doesn't become a little teeny. It's all like-
You've had enough, John.
Freeze it. Freeze it.
Well, we hit the wench, I was watching Chris do the wench, that didn't work, got to call Chuck in to make the four-wheel drive out, and it wasn't wet.
That sure
Ground. No, it was something else. There's also so with tree level.
Probably what I'll do is I'll scan it.
Peter, how are you, sir?
Anything good in there worth eating? Cookies. Some chips. Anything worth eating in there, Steve?
Well, there's fruit.
The chips, the cookies.
Yeah, I'll run over here.
Yeah.
Okay, folks, let's go.
Would you like $5 out? You gotta pay me for it, so I'll take $5. I'll probably take $1. I need some traveling money. I'll take $1.
Traveling money.
I actually gotta go to the bank for that here. I will be stuck there with no money.
Next time, don't forget the,
Oh, is that for me?
Well, because there's no sense you stand here at attention unless you're gonna have
The
something
avocado,
else.
the other one.
Stand-
Vanna's never allowed to sit. I'm gonna steal part of your desk right here for my water.
Please, that's for you.
In my very team-spirited cup here. So hopefully next,
Are they gonna, they're playing.
They're on the tree.
hopefully next week we'll have another one of these.
But I know, I won't forget them.
Against
I
Carl's
think it's gonna be a
team.
banner year for mangoes. The tree is covered with little leaves pea-sized mangoes right now.
I think you'd wanna sit down.
Yeah.
I know.
I did go to the chiropractor today, so my back is like,
And I don't think he'd mind you sitting down there. At least I don't. I might put you in the
hope
chair. You get the devil out.
Okay, folks, let's get started.
I'll tell him you told me.
Hope you enjoyed your break.
You know what, couldn't see anything on the screen at home.
Let's start talking about sustainability.
Carl, I guess Martha just said you can't see anything on the screen at home. I'm not sure.
I get to see your backs, I get to hear your voices, I get to see you, but you can't see any of that, couldn't see the screen, couldn't see the PowerPoint.
No one's running the cameras. This is how it's going to be. Thank you. Okay.
Good to hear y'all.
Good to see you. Good to hear us all. Okay, so let's talk about sustainability. And this has been in front of council more than a couple of times. And right now, as I indicated before, we're going through the process of working with the directors, finding out what the city is doing that will earn us points. And not everything, again, there's things that we do every day that will earn us sustainability points under this program that's Jen's working through with our department heads. And Dr. Steve, what would you like to say about sustainability and what we need to do with regards to...
Well, I don't want to get into details, but
Right.
basically you're on the right track.
Okay.
It's not about getting the points, it's about doing things correctly that happen to be about points. So when we talk, we need to get, ultimately when we talk about complete streets, they'll bleed over into transportation, bikes, pedestrians, so if you add up their complete streets, that's fine.
So sustainability bleeds over into everything that we do. It's just doing it in a sustainable
If you look
manner.
at water,
Everything.
infrastructure,
Right.
transportation, land use, resources. But we really need to get to a green building standard for the city.
Green building standard for the city. Okay.
And that doesn't mean burdensome regulations and requirements. It simply means smart building that is sustainable. That's all I say.
Okay.
Well, pardon the whole thing. We've got to have some kind of regional coordination so that we aren't acting on our own or going in a different direction. For example, water is not only our problem, same with transportation.
All right, so regional coordination. Okay. So are we prepared then to move from this to perhaps transportation of water?
Sure.
Real quick? Okay, all right. So, and again, these are things that have just been brought out, but we're looking for kind of like general statements, general priorities of what we need to do. So we don't have to discuss each of these individually, but Janet, I know you're involved with the...
Yep, the Bicycle Pedestrian Safety Board.
Yep.
They've got a couple of projects that they'd like to do, and so first off, come budgetary time, that group has not worked with a budget before, but they've got some ideas. They're looking at now the artistic bicycle racks that are basically almost like a work of art in themselves for downtown. We don't have bicycle racks, believe it or not, in the park downtown. So that's something that hopefully when we get to budget time, they'll have a number on what something like that would cost. But that's a neat thing. And then also, I think that we need to work, and as part of too, the healthy streets and complete streets, as that all falls together under the bicycles and pedestrian safety. Okay. Obviously being number one, and in that respect, I think that they are going to make a recommendation to council through probably along with staff that the East Terry, West Terry safety and sidewalks and bike paths has become a priority, and that we need to look at that holistically, that whole street, and not try to take it in pieces. And I think that you probably, or staff can elaborate more on that, please, but I think that's something that council needs to be aware of.
But do we have an overall, I mean, one of the things in the vision is that this connectivity throughout the city.
Absolutely.
Do we have a plan for connectivity in this city? Do we have an overall plan going, this is going to be buses, this is going to be sidewalks, this is going to be...
I don't know that there's an overall plan.
No, but you've got models all around you. Fort Myers, Sanibel all have complete streets strategies,
okay,
which is really what you're asking about.
Okay. So complete street strategy, general plan?
Mobility plan.
Mobility plan. Right. Matt?
With regards to Terry Street, correct. We have some limited constraints on West Terry in terms of right-of-way that play into the complete streets issue. We also have issues in East Terry with folks using the fields, and so it's something that we would need to look at in terms of. It's probably a compromise type road. I don't know that we could wind up with a full complete street where we have bike lanes on both sides and sidewalks that meet all needs
we'll work through it.
Right-of-way acquisition.
Right. Okay, very good. Yes, Nicole.
I just wanted to add that we also, the area we get the most complaints is Terry. That's why in the bike pedestrian committee also made that priority number one to look at Terry as a whole first. And then once we complete that, we can make that a model for the rest of the city.
And it's not just East Terry, it's West Terry by the school.
Correct.
We have a crosswalk to nowhere in front of the school, so that needs to be addressed.
One of the things that have come up in light of, actually came up as a result of the DRGR discussion, but the question is, do we have traffic volume information? Do we have an overall, even transport, I mean, maybe it goes back to the mobility plan, but do we have traffic information to determine whether or not we can actually move the volume of traffic that we have here? Not bikes, not pedestrians. Do we have that information, or do we need to get it?
We have a plan that was completed back in 2008, and so probably in need of updating in terms of where our traffic needs are, and then we count traffic on our citywide streets every year.
Yeah, it's probably time that be updated.
All right, so we'll update the 2008, what do you call it?
Master traffic plan.
Master traffic plan.
Yeah.
Is that okay with council if we put that on the list?
Well, and the purpose of that plan at the time was to prioritize. In other words, it was pretty cool the way it's laid out. It says, look, if you do this, if you think you're doing this road first buys you anything, it doesn't. You have to do this one first, or that one doesn't make any sense because the traffic can't get from that road. So,
which is why, in terms of an update to that, even though it's probably timely, we may want to hold off until this week of Shangri-La, just so that we get an analysis then of what our
good point.
situation is.
Right.
Yep, good point.
Okay, so that'll be after Shangri-La. Okay. All right. What about Lee Tran? What are our thoughts about mass transit through Bonita Springs?
Well, I think it's completely consistent with our comprehensive plan and vision that we've had, a walk-up community that has pedestrian-friendly with interconnecting sidewalks, pathways, and publicly available transit system accessing all neighborhoods. Vehicular traffic should move easily through in a continuous attractive street system. So it's pretty clear that that's what we are supposed to be doing, and in my opinion, I know that a lot of people don't agree, but I said, in my opinion, it's never been more successful. It gets more successful all the time. And right now, the county, both counties are depending on our participation. It's working great. I mean, you up there right next to your place, that bus stop right next to your place, I see this group of kids from Publix, 10, 12 at a time, that's how they get to work. I mean, it's really, I think, an economic development thing. And it's the reason when we sat down to talk to Hertz and we sat down to talk to these, well, that's one of the questions. How are the schools? How's public transit? How's this? If you don't have one of those things, they're kind of like, oh, okay, sorry. Because it's one of those things you pay for that, you know, you may not use it all the time, but when you need it, it needs to be there. So, but I don't know, my opinion.
Ben, can I
Sure.
a comment? I don't have a problem with the fact is that we pay that extra. The $171,000 is not fair from my perspective, because the people in Estero, they don't have to pay for bus 140. As you know, the deficit that the county's running in that particular category is $10 million a year. And at the MPO meeting, which I spoke at our public meeting, we still give an additional $1,300,000 as part of the total system. Now, that's part of the system, but the extra 171, as I remember from years back, I remember the council paying $40,000 a year. Now it's up to $171,000 a year. And we spent, what, $1,800,000. We moved 176 people within the bus 150 route. So my only objection is we already do participate, and we do, and it's a big number. And I think if you look what FGCU did, Steve,
yeah,
that was costing them $250,000, I think, and they said we don't have enough ridership. Now that was a business decision. I'd like us to stick to business decisions and see if we can be relieved of that. And we're still paying into the system, and hopefully, I don't know how they're going to resolve the $10 million deficit that they're running annually. It's been going on for years, and that's a county commissioner's thing. But so that's where I am.
Well, and I think that what we possibly could agree on is that a transit system, some type of transit system has its place in Bonita Springs. It's a money thing more than anything. It's how we can more efficiently do that. And perhaps that at this point in time, when it comes time to the budget time and negotiating, that's when we need to.
Well, I mean, as a businessman, you can't run a deficit like every other business, and if you do, you go out of business. And all I'm saying is it has to be a business decision, not an emotional position, and that's what I'm coming from.
Yeah, absolutely. But as a businessman, you also do things. It's called a loss leader. There's some things that you do to get your customer where they need to be, which is to make you money.
And I wouldn't have a problem with that if it was more than 176 people out of 45,000 people.
Well, I don't know. We'll check those. We'll check those numbers.
Okay.
All right. So at this point in time, we're okay with the routes. All right. Our issue is funding at this point. Is that fair to say?
Of course.
So we'll just put that down and see where that goes. What about the shelters? Do we need more shelters? Real quick.
No.
No more shelters.
No.
You mean bus shelters, right?
Bus shelters.
Look at John. You mean hurricane shelters?
It's under transportation. Okay.
We have 5, right? 19,000 people.
Do we need any more bus shelters?
I think that there might be a need for 1 or 2 different well-used stops that might need to be addressed.
All right. So we'll explore that.
Yes.
And maybe if you can give us a couple of those ideas, we can go forward with that. Everybody okay with that?
Yep.
All right. I'm trying to rush because I want to get this done by 9 o'clock, and I'm concerned we're not even going to make that.
That's all right. We won't be here.
All right. Old 41 South and Logan Boulevard. John, I know you raised this issue. Is there anything in particular that we need to ask council to do on this, or council, are you, what do we need, what do we need?
On Logan Boulevard, I just want to make sure we still stay on your radar at a distance. We are waiting for the developer, Collier County, to hit certain trigger points before they have to start thinking about putting that extension in. And we're trying to position ourselves so that we're in the best place to make it a positive addition to our road system. We've already started budgeting some money for enhanced landscaping, but there will be some bumps in that road we expect, no pun intended. And we'll kind of keep you posted on that as we get closer to planning and construction.
On these two issues, is there anything strategic planning wise that we need to put in the strategic plan, or is there something you want to vote on with regards to these two projects? Anybody?
Well, 041 South is really super important. Logan Boulevard's something that's going to happen. I mean, that's why I would preface them. I mean, it's just.
So our plan is still to widen the road for bike paths, is that part of it?
41 South is mixed use sidewalk?
What we've pursued is a multi-use path that's off the roadway, so not a shoulder widening.
Okay, it's not a shoulder widening,
And
okay.
the MPO is actually championing that project because it's, Collier County's come on board and agreed to also put forward a project that would continue that connectivity all the way down to.
Oh, that's much better. Yeah,
That's awesome.
And
Understand though that the fact that we're going down,
Sorry.
the fact that we're going down this different direction, which I think is going to be ultimately a much better product, will probably mean it'll take a little longer to get there though. It's not going to be the short-term quick fix that we originally.
We can live with that.
Good.
Taft, 41 South Taft.
Beach Road.
Okay, we good with that then? So we'll leave Logan off, but we'll put something about this on there. Matt?
Well, I think when we were also talking about, we've moved towards the path. We've secured water for the future in the southern portion.
Right.
In the event that we widen it, I mean, do we need to continue to widen or pursue the idea of widening it, or wait and see how factors that may drive that in the future?
John, 041, right?
Yeah, to Old 41 South, do we still pursue widening it in the future, or do we wait and see how the traffic patterns are?
Well,
Or maybe we develop this overall traffic study?
I think that's got to be part of the traffic study. I think that's got to be a finding comes out of there because, any of us who've tried to drive down South 41 here recently and get onto New 41, it's a problem.
Right.
But
All right, and the last thing I've got is Bonita Trail. Is there still an interest in
Absolutely.
pursuing expansion of that?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Especially the expansion to the crew.
Okay.
So expansion eastward.
Expansion eastward.
And
do you want us taking on the fight to head to the feds for the 75?
Yes.
Yes.
You want us to take that fight on?
Yes.
Okay. John?
There are actually two potential fights that we would have to go through to go eastward. One, as Carl mentioned, with the feds on the I-75 issue, but going further east to the crude lands, the county has, they understand the need for the trail, they like it, they appreciate it, they want to participate, but they're still going through their own deliberations about what to do with 2020 property, restoring the natural flowways there. They don't want to give us permission to put a trail in if within a short period of time they're going to reestablish some natural flowways and put our trail in the water. So we have two conflicting, very positive potential projects. It's not that we're at odds with the county, but it's going to take some time to work through what they get.
So, but we can just express a desire here and the reality can beat us up later. Okay, all right.
Okay. Is there anything else on transportation, connectivity that we've missed here? Anything?
I have one thing, and I don't know if it's a water or a transportation
That's all right.
issue.
Go ahead.
So, and I think that it falls kind of under the realm of ecotourism, that I don't know if it's time for us to start looking at a designation of jet ski and powerboat free waters for the paddlers, and how that also for ecotourism, and also that protects the shallows for the oyster beds and fish nurseries that make our area so wonderful.
Okay, so what do you want us to put down here?
I don't know. I don't know if it's under transportation or environment.
Don't worry about that.
Kind of both.
Don't worry
Okay,
about
that. designating jet ski and powerboat free waters.
Okay.
It's going to be fun, but you know, if you're a paddler and you're out there and these people on jet skis and powerboats that don't really know the lay of the land, it's dangerous.
Okay.
And with that, could we do maintenance of the river and the creeks as far as maintaining them, making ease of access?
That's going to be under waterways. Okay. Are we finished with transportation? Okay. You want to go to waterways now and water?
Yep, let's go.
Okay. There's a whole list of things here. Tell me what you're concerned about, what we ought to be dealing with.
I'm going to express something incredibly unpopular here, which is so weird for me, right? But anyway. But anyway, I think under access, Spring Creek, I think it's really important that the larger we get as a city, and we will get larger, it's not what I want, it's actually what's going to happen as we become a larger city. More and more, I can testify to this being a marine contractor, more and more there's going to be less access to the water. And pretty soon the general people who don't have money, that much money, are not going to be able to get their water. People aren't going to be able to fish. And I know some people think that if you want to fish, go to the top of New Pass Bridge. Really? Let me see you get in a wheelchair and get to the top of New Pass Bridge and fish. Let me see you take an 80-year-old, take his grandkids up to the top of New Pass Bridge to fish. I think that's absurd. I think it's cruel. And I think for a city, a water-related city like ours, not to have an area, and I'm not talking the Naples Pier, I'm not talking about Fort Myers Beach, for us not to accommodate the access to the waterways like we're supposed to do, I think it's a crime. I think it's a sin for people who live on the water to say, you know what, let them eat cake. Let them eat cake. Let them get a boat. Well, some people can't afford a boat. And fishing is great. It's great for kids. It's great for toddlers. Why can't we have a place? Why can't we accommodate that need? We accommodate swimming pools, everything else. We accommodate dog parks. What's wrong with having a place where people can take their kids, take their grandparents, where people can go out and fish? We need to accommodate that. I think it's
wrong with that
important.
at all.
So increase access to waterways.
Absolutely.
Okay. By various, whatever means we'll talk about.
Absolutely.
And it's longer term here, but of course I saw an article that we're going to be replacing, what is it, the Big Carlos, which bridge are we going to be, is slated to be replaced?
Oh, really? I didn't hear about that.
A bridge?
Yeah, I saw it in the newspaper. But anyway, I mean, I guess.
It has to do with dredging, I mean.
I know, but long way of saying if you go, go ahead.
Big Carlos is on I think it's about a 10-year window.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I know that's long term, but when you go up to
New Pass?
270, yeah. But when you go up to like 275, and you know how they left, and you go down to the Keys, they left the old bridge. I don't know if that's a long-term option to leave the old bridge for that type of thing, and I know that doesn't directly address what you're, so that's a different, but wholeheartedly support what the mayor's saying here.
All right.
Like south of New Pass on
Okay.
that side of the.
Now, we're talking about quality and quantity of water in the DRGR process. Is there anything about, other than the DRGR process that's underway and what we are required to do by state standards, which we're working towards, is there anything we need to put in this plan that addresses these things or makes a statement about it? DRGR is obviously a big issue right now.
I got to tell you, never mind the DRGR, I'm talking about the citywide. Citywide, we're going to be really lucky to be able to comply with all what's coming down the pipe. That's going to be the challenge. That probably in itself enough, just citywide water quality, and you can conclude the DRGR, just bracket that in there with it. Regardless of what decision ever gets or doesn't ever get made on DRGR, that's all one big deal, and we're going to have to take care of it. Okay. And that's going to be a real challenge.
Okay. Everybody okay with
making
that statement at least initially now, and we'll, okay? Big Carlos Pass and Hickory Pass are proposed perhaps to be dredged. This is being driven by Commissioner Kiker with regards to, in the future, hoping that renourishments can be handled through situations like this. John, what in particular would you like to see from council with regards to perhaps a statement?
Yeah, this is one of those issues that I was concerned may not be kind of the forefront of everybody's mind, but the commissioner is putting a lot of energy with the county staff to see if they can work out permitting for the dredging, navigational dredging of the big Carlin path. That's in our jurisdiction. At this point, nobody's said anything about partnering, cost sharing, responsibility long-term or anything like that. And I don't know that that's going to happen, but it's obviously something that will affect us at some point down the line, whether or not it's tied to beach renourishments in the future or not. So kind of wanted it to be out there, something that we at least need to monitor and be aware of.
Okay, so anything council-wise on strategic plan for that, other than just to monitor perhaps?
Keep an eye on it.
Okay, monitor that then. Okay. Again, John, RPC study and Biggert Waters. You want to address those real quick?
Well, Matt's probably better to speak about the RPC study and as it relates to Spring Creek, but let me touch on Biggert Waters. That's the issue that we've been following regarding the flood insurance premium. And again, not necessarily something that constituents are calling on now on a regular basis, but if the recent temporary reprieve is not made permanent or some other changes aren't made permanent, that could potentially affect every property owner in the city because it's going to affect those buying flood insurance, the values of those homes, and then that has a ripple effect for the entire economy. So again, I think this is probably one of those things that staff is looking for confirmation, I guess, that direction should be to monitor and keep you appraised on what's going on.
So far as Biggert Waters?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're okay with that?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, I don't know that this needs to be in there though, does it? I mean,
John's been
No,
keeping
probably
us up to date
not,
on
but
it.
my gut tells me that it probably will be there before long.
okay, put it in there then. All right, and then RPC, real briefly?
Briefly, the RPC study for Spring Creek, it really kind of is tied to two different issues that have been woven together. One is navigation and dredging, and we've found maybe a less expensive and maybe more result-driven approach to dealing with that. We've contracted with a coastal engineering firm to go out and do a bathymetric survey and a habitat survey, which are critical pieces of information that we wouldn't have gotten from the RPC study, to then engage the state in a dredging permit, which addresses those type needs. The other issues that are tied to Spring Creek in terms of water quality and volumetric flow east of 75 as it moves through really seem to be maybe something that would come out of the DRGR stuff, or if choices are made, or out of the South Lee County Watershed Plan. We're not so confident that studying it is going to do much in terms of tangible things that we can take action on. We know that we can move on the component of dredging and dealing with navigation issues downstream. Culverts underneath I-75, which have been called out in the 2000 or in the South Lee County Watershed Plan, are issues that are more regional of a nature, and I don't think this study will really give us the horsepower that we would need to pursue that.
I'm glad to hear you guys are doing it like that, because when I heard about the way that this was planned, I mean, to me, it was, this is going to make the DRGR committee and study look like second grade math. I mean, this was overcomplicating it, because what you were asking somebody to do was study something, and you had two groups of people who were having two different expectations coming together. This side was like, oh great, now we're going to save the world, well, we're going to save the ecological environment of this, and the other side was like, boy, I can't wait for us to get this dredged out. Well, that wasn't going to happen with those two groups together. And I think that there needs to be some maintenance dredging there. It absolutely does. And so thank you for going about it that way. It really does.
That's kind of what we're asking. I mean, that's the approach we've looked at. The dredging piece it has challenges. We're within the Cerro Bay Aquatic Preserve. That is a very historically difficult area to dredge, so we didn't really want to mark time, to use a military term, and lose time in gathering the information that we know you have to have if you pursue dredging or if you pursue any sort of restoration of the creek bed. So we weren't really going to get that information from the RPC folks that kind of confirm that, and then we went along that path. And I think really where our recommendation is that I think we can make an impact on the dredging. The other stuff I think over time will come to play, and maybe there is value in studying, but
Spring Creek dredging. Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to put in Spring Creek dredging, and we're just going to leave how it gets done alone for right now, but we wanted council to understand what's going on. Have we covered waterways and water? Is there anything else that we need to cover? What's up there? All right. Can we move to education? I've heard about a high school. We want a high school. We've heard about the possibility of a charter high school to be constructed by the YMCA on their property. They are gathering funds to do that. They've already got over $1 million in the bank to do that. The question is, do you want us to pursue the possibility of a public high school down here too, from Lee County? They own property. Is that something, what's the council's feeling? Is there a positive statement we want to put in the strategic plan about direction to staff on what to do about that?
Well, we just can be supportive of it. I don't know that there's anything else that we can do. Is there, Steve? I mean, we can be supportive. I mean, I don't think anybody's not supportive of it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course.
Support public high school and
support the creation of a high school,
and a charter high school.
Okay.
The charter's not happening.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What about a university presence? How do you feel about that? Last time we talked in 2011, that was something that went in to the plan that was grouped, but we frankly just haven't done much on that. We have had discussions with Edison.
Yeah.
They are interested in being here. They've got certain criterias that we may not be able to meet. But then, of course, the question is, well, if them, why not FGCU? So what's council feeling on this? Is this important or not?
I've had FGCU out here at least twice, the president and staff, through Wonder Gardens. They don't have the money for another satellite campus, trying to manage it. You know, if you can get somebody down there, it's fine, but I don't think we're going to see it anytime soon.
Okay. Would you support a university presence?
Absolutely.
Yes. But is that, do you want us working on that? That's going to be the, well,
yeah.
You can tell by our dots. We'll tell by your dots
I think
how important that's going to be for you.
Because we had been working on that and we got close.
Yeah, we
and,
got real close.
And then they ran into, as you know, all kinds of interesting problems.
Okay. We're down the home stretch here. So let's talk about other things. Beach and access ownership. County owns it right now. County controls it right now. They get the revenue for it. Obviously, they take up the expenditures as well. I think we have a director who's interested in having more control and ownership over that if the council were inclined to pursue that. We don't know that the county has been that receptive in the past. However, you know, there's been a change on the commission probably since we last asked. So what do you think?
Yes.
Would you be interested in taking it over as long as we did all the appropriate studies, like cost-benefit analysis, things like that? Bill?
Do you have any idea what the operating costs are?
No. This is very high level.
Well, we did a little bit of a study quite some time ago when Gary was around there, and it is a contributor to the system, the park fees and stuff like that. So it does. That's why they, did away with the ticket system, is because they wanted to keep the money for it. And we did make some overtures about, at one time, kind of about taking it over. And at that time, Barbara Manzo, she was not interested.
Right.
However, Larry Kiker has been, so far, a pretty good advocate about home control with that kind of stuff like that. So, I think it's worth pursuing. I don't know how far we'll get, but I think it's at least.
John,
the cost-benefit analysis may not be as difficult as it is in some other instances, because a big part of the maintenance cost for beach operations is paid for out of TDC dollars. It's not even county-generated dollars. So we would theoretically step into those shoes.
Very good, good point, thank you. All right, so pursue it.
Yes.
Pursue it.
I
Okay.
think, Carl, I really
Bill?
think we have an obligation to what disaster that happened 2 years ago. There's a real obligation to the city's population to do everything we can to run it.
Now, I think it's fair to tell council that the last time we talked about the city taking it over, we did get pushback from some of the people who live on the beach. They didn't, some people, I won't say they, some people on the beach, a few people from the beach anyway, weren't secure at that particular moment in time with the city doing that. They felt more secure with the county having it. I guess they thought we were going to build a Home Depot out there or something. But that's not going to happen. I feel confident that this city council is responsible, and I think we should at least investigate it, pursue it. I think we can do a good job of it.
We'll do that. Then there was the whole thing about use of committees and volunteers. I really don't know what that means.
We do the heck out of that.
We do that. I mean, is there anything we need to worry about?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Life is good.
People's heads exploding.
All right, and then there was a question raised about council pay.
I'm for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you are getting paid. Okay. Well, I trust you're all getting paid. Okay.
Yes.
Meg, are they
They
getting
are
paid?
getting paid.
Okay, good. But here's the thing. In the charter, it says that when the employees of the city get an across-the-board increase, okay, then you also get it. But since 2011, we have gradually moved away from across-the-board increases to pay for performance, which means that
I would never get paid.
we have never. You could take that a couple of different ways, right?
No, come on.
No. Okay, come on, it's late.
It is late.
Can we adjourn?
Yeah, we have to go back to our jobs here.
So the bottom line is that increases for you are not automatically driven anymore because we've gone away from across-the-board increases. In fact, the only time we probably would do that is if we had to take the pay plan ranges minimum to max and we had to shift them because of market reasons. All right, so we had to say, okay, everybody's got to get, we've got to move the pay range 2%, so it shifts the whole thing this way.
We get it. We got it. No.
Okay. So the question is that a concern to you? Is there something, I know pay is a sensitive issue. Anything you guys want to say about this? Just leave it alone? Leave it off the
I kind
document?
of think we're lucky to get paid, but
Okay.
Leave it alone. Good point.
Fine. All right. So put that on the wall then. And then that is all we have.
yay.
All right.
Good job,
So the question is, what's most important to you? So what I'd ask each of you to do, you've got 10 dots.
Well,
All
let
right.
me ask you a question.
Yes.
The bullet points underneath of these, are you asking us to say which is most important of those?
Are we just doing the main number? or-
Because there's nothing on here I want to take off in terms of
Exactly.
big numbers.
Yeah, I know.
Exactly.
That's what I feel too.
All right, well, here's the problem.
we have
We've
10
got limited
dots.
resources.
Well,
okay?
yeah, but you don't.
You got 10
We
dots.
can't do everything that you want. I've got to know what your priorities are.
Well, those, let me say it again, those are our priorities. You can't do everything on the action plan, but we expect that you would be a manager that you are and say, these are the things we're going to accomplish. I'm serious.
Well,
I'm serious.
downtown is number one.
Well, I'm just saying,
It is.
you manage the staff to what you have in terms of resources. And if you can't do bus shelters or you can't do one or the other, you simply tell, hey, look, that's not going to happen this year. I think it's, this group is supposed to be the strategy group, not that smart probably, but they're supposed to be. And you're supposed to be the guy that says yes or no, we can do that, or can't do that. Here's my resources, you want to give me more resources? Fine. I leave it in your hands, Carl, to tell us what can and can't be done out of that strategy.
Well, is this just a tool to give him an idea of what's most important? And the rest of it all gets done, but it's where you focus the majority of your efforts, is that?
Right, I mean, it's not up to staff to be setting, my feeling is it's not up to staff to be setting priorities. Yes, we know these are things that you want, but the bottom line is that if I spend all my time working on whatever, and one of the things that you think is most important doesn't get addressed fully, then staff is not pleasing you.
That's not what I said. What I'm trying to point out to you is, That's your decision with the resources you have. We've told you what we think are important. Those are 5 or 6 or 7 things that are broad, strategic issues. If you can't do one of the bullet points this year, it gets pushed out. It's like a Gantt chart, you know. Here are the ones I can do under transportation. Here are the ones I can't do under water, whatever. I think I don't know how to put 10 dots up there and be realistic about what's most important. I think they're all important, but you got to decide how it gets done.
And Carl, you're not looking for us to put on just beautification as important. You're looking for us to put landscape compliance or blah, blah, blah. You're looking for us to put on those individual items? Okay. Well, why don't we just give it a shot and see what comes up?
But if council doesn't want to do it, I'm okay with it. And we'll take what we've got, we will make it concise, we will group it, and then we're going to bring it back to you anyway. You're going to get another run at this anyway. In a public meeting, it's not going to be workshop, it's going to be probably a couple of public meetings, and you can see what the structure looks like, and you can see if it's what you've asked for, and then we can go from there. We can also do that.
I like that idea.
That's a good idea. But I think that's a better plan.
Okay, that's fine. We can do that. No problem.
You want your dots back?
Council's happy. Yeah, I need one. I need the dots back. No, that's all right. You've gone through a lot tonight. You can keep your dots. All right, Mr. Mayor, I am done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Great job.
Great job. Okay, I get to do the important part, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all.
And thanks for all your staff being here too.
Sure. Thank you, staff.
Thank you, staff.
For all your information.
Here, take the dots. Take the dots. They taste terrible, by the way.
Yeah. Well.